What's up, guys? Welcome to another Sunday live stream. So this one, for the past, I would say, month, we've done just back-to-back guests, which have been quite fun, but I always felt bad because we would only get through about 10 to 20% of the questions. So tonight, I have no other plans but getting through all of the questions that you guys have. So we'll go for a reasonable amount of time, and I'll try to go through these questions in a somewhat decent order. So yeah, as per usual, feel free to ask me anything, pickup or not pickup related. You can even ask me questions about my dog or whatever if you wish. I know people want to ask me sometimes about my nose and shit like that, so feel free, just have at it. All right, let's get cracking. So we got pretty good turnout. Good. Best crazy chick story. Oh man, where do I even begin? I think that the one that stands out the most was one that I wrote about. So it's under love reports, even though I never hooked up with this chick. So this was in Poland. This was the only girl I ever met up with from Badoo, and this chick was just straight up crazy. I remember that it took me 2 minutes. Like, she called me when she was outside my place, and it took me literally 2 minutes to come down. And by the time that I had entered the elevator and made it down and was like had reception again, there was already like 20 texts from her. During those 2 minutes, she already started assuming that this was some kind of kidnapping plot, and that, she started freaking out. And then when I actually opened the door, she was already running down the street because she had freaked out. So that was we're talking that level of crazy. Literally 2 fucking minutes, she assumed that something was up or something like that. Anyway, I don't know if she wanted me to teleport downstairs when she texted me, but yeah, that chick was straight up crazy. What parameters do you use to classify someone's game as beginner, intermediate, advanced? There's no hard parameters. I mean, honestly, a lot of it comes down. It's like how do you classify yourself as a beginner, as a beginner intermediate weightlifter? I mean, you could look at how big you are and how much weight you can lift, but then again, there's different types of weights. For example, like taking me at the gym, I'll probably be intermediate at pull-ups and benching, but beginner at deadlifting because I just don't deadlift. So it could be same thing said with game. It could be like an intermediate when it comes to let's say day game and online game, but you could be a beginner when it comes to night game or whatever, or any so social circle game because you just don't do it. So really, I would just say it's an arbitrary category. But the only way to really classify it is just what kind of results are you getting. Are you getting laid once a year, once a month, once a week, or do you have a sex life that you're quite happy and content with, at which point you would be advanced? So kind of like that. Do you implement dark tribes trait in your relationship studies show that these personality traits, narcissism, missionality, psychopathy, are particularly attractive? No, I do not, and I think I sort of know what you're. I haven't seen the studies, but I've seen other bloggers talk about it. I forget who specifically, but I have read this before. But no, because my theory is that if you are a narcissist or even a borderline psychopath, that you're going to attract basically long term girls with emotional issues. You're not going to attract high quality, healthy women, at least not emotionally healthy women. So that, first of all. Second of all, I just don't want to be a narcissist or a dick to people I like. I mean, I sort of have to. I would say I'm definitely not a psychopath or anything, but I would say I'm maybe a very mild narcissist sometimes. Sometimes I do tend to not factor other people's feelings to a very low degree, I would say. So it's something that I'm trying to do the other way. I try to be more considerate, when I like a person, especially, if it's a relationship or something like that. Clearly if I'm in a relationship with a girl, I like her. So I'm going to try to do the opposite. I'm going to try to be less narcissistic, not more narcissistic than my default baseline. So no, I don't think that's a healthy nor a good approach. I've been waiting for this all week. Hope you're doing well. All right. Thank you, sir. I am doing quite well. Thank you for coming on. What you say? Is that a Jason Derulo song? Yeah, dark tribe is the way to go. All right. What to say when a girl texts, "Are you looking for a hookup?" Hee. I would respond with probably sarcasm. I'd say, no, I'm saving myself for Jesus. I probably wouldn't want to give her a serious answer right away. If she then pushes the issue and she says, "Come on, but seriously," then I might say, "I'm looking for a cool girl I have chemistry with," or something like that. Just kind of give a little bit of a vague answer. I probably wouldn't start qualifying myself no, I hate hookups. I wouldn't say the blatant honesty approach here would probably just get you, if you are just looking for a hookup, would get you dismissed early on. Unfit, reasonably attractive. If I come across too quiet, serious, introverted. When I've gone to bars, I've been asked if I'm okay. How can I improve and give a warmer vibe? Hmm. That's a good question. It's hard. You can't. If you're like a serious introvert, it's gonna be hard for you to act warm, right? For example, like let's take. I'll give you an example using my parents. Right, my parents are pretty much polar opposites. My dad is very like cold-ish, unless you get to know him, right? But if you meet him, you think he's very cold and like serious, right? In reality, if you get to know him really well, you find out he's kind of a goofball also. But at first glance, people always think he's like a serial killer. He's like like a Russian hitman or something like that. That's a better example. My mom is like super bubbly and warm, like very friendly, very warm, like very welcoming. People just so like the polar opposites, right? So if my mom was to try to be cold or my dad was trying to be warm, it would just come off really weird for either one of them, right? You can only be really who you are. You can only exaggerate parts of your personality. I think that going out with people who balance out your personality. So, for example, go out with a group, right? People who are maybe a little bit warmer than you, that might have a much better effect than you actually trying to be, something that you're not. If that kind of makes sense. Also, just making an effort to strike up a conversation with people. Again, just kind of have fun with it. You could also try taking kratom. Might make you, depends on how it affects you, but it might make you more just like at ease and relaxed and just more like happy and goofy, or just smoking weed or something like that. Just different things affect people differently. So yeah, I know personally, I don't really smoke weed that often, but when I do smoke, I'm like the biggest fucking goofball. So, like I'm too goofy. So like I wouldn't want to go on a date with a girl who I just met and be high, because I would just like spend all night just cracking jokes and like fucking like trying to tickle her and shit. Alrighty. My photos are very high rankings on PhotoFeeler 8 and 9, but they're still struggling. I'm not just 30 miles from a big city. What can I do? Well, PhotoFeeler, generally speaking, is pretty much dog shit feedback. So I would not really take that as a sign that you actually have a good profile. Now, you might, but there's really no way to tell. So the first thing I would do is go to the Playing with Five forums and make a post with your profile. So I'll tell you pretty quickly if it actually is good or not. But if you're 30 miles from a big city, and you definitely want to make your your location settings like 40 miles or 50 miles, right? You want to be encompassing of that big city. So those are the two things I would do if I were you, man. Macross Alpha Male Secrets. I'll get right on that. Cold approach will solve most of your issues. Yeah, I disagree with that. I think that that's a common thing that guys say in the pickup community, like, "Oh, cold approach will solve all your issues." Like, okay, you take a guy who's awkward, socially awkward, and can't interact with women, and just has a hard time expressing himself, and just make him do a bunch of cold approaches. Okay, what is that going to result? He's just going to, unless he has the proper guidance, he's just going to go out and just fucking creep out a bunch of women on the street. Like, what is going to be the goal? He's not going to. It's unlikely to change who he is as a person. Like, I disagree with this theory that cold approach just solves all your problems, like it's like a magic pill. Like, far from it. How do I avoid flakes? There's no way to avoid flakes. Everyone gets flaked on, no matter how good you are. I actually got flaked on the day before yesterday. So everyone gets flaked on, happens. There's no way to avoid it. You can minimize your chances of flaking by doing several things. First of all, by building investment before you go for the meetup. So getting the girl really interested and invested in the conversation. Like, get the chick writing like sentences or paragraphs. First thing. Second of all, by closing optimally. So what that means is, like, don't just say, "Hey, you're free tomorrow at 9 o'clock," right? She might be sort of free, but not really. And then she agrees tentatively, and then she winds up she's not as free as she thought. Much better way is to figure out her schedule, and then you find out that Wednesday's her night off, and then you can it's a much better night for her. So basically, again, like, be smart with scheduling dates, and then also try to, like, if the day is like 5 or 6 days away, then maybe you want to text her the night before and just kind of hint at the fact that you, like, kind of a friendly reminder, you guys have a date tomorrow. Give me something like excited to see you tomorrow, right? And then day of the date, you want to confirm. So that's huge. Guys often forget this. Well, we made plans 2 weeks ago, so I assume she's going to remember. Like, no. Like, if you don't confirm and the date was set far back, the chick is just going to assume that you're flaking on her, and she's going to prematurely flake on you. So I would say those are the big ones. How to get past a girl who knows your reputation. Like, I work with a new girl starts, other girls will learn about me because I've hooked up with a few and they know I'm a player. It's not necessarily a bad thing. They can actually probably work in your favor. So one girl's thinking that you're a player. Now, player can be in a negative or in a positive light. Like, this guy is a douchebag who, will like fuck you for 2 minutes and then like prematurely ejaculate on your feet or something like that. Or this guy's like, he's a stud. He will, he's good in bed. He's like charming, charismatic, but he has a hard time settling down with one girl, right? So it's like two ways to look at the same exact, let's say, title, right? So as long as the player is set in a positive light, you don't want her to not find out. It's okay that she knows. In fact, it's going to build intrigue, right? You don't want to be the one though that directly reminds her of, you want to almost like play dumb a little bit, like play it down, like you don't even really care about it, but you don't want to deny it either, right? So it's like, oh yeah, ladies have been gossiping, just make a joke out of it, like oh yeah, I'll give you guys an example. I was doing a panel last night on Afi Kingdom's channel, and there was like a bunch of like, we're doing like interview style questions, right? And then my booty call was over, and she came over and like whispered something in my ear, and the guys were like, "Oh, who's that? You got a girl over? You got a girl over, Alex?" Right? Like, what would be a more high value thing to do? Would be more high value to like start bragging about it and be like, yeah, she's hot. I got this chick over, babe, come here, or just to play it down like you don't give a shit. It's not a big deal to you, right? Like I'm like, oh, it's just my mom. Like, ignore her. Right? Like, which one of these is a more high value position to be in? So the same thing kind of applies to your situation, right? Like, you want to almost like playfully dismiss, right? Like the fact that that you have that reputation. Hey, Alex, we got you for ourselves today. First question for me. How are you this evening? Good. Thank you for asking. I appreciate that. Welcome to the live stream, Mr. Video Watcher 295. You have me all to yourself for the next few hours. Yeah, so I agree with what B said. Okay, having issues closing back to my place on dates. We'll have one on my balcony, start making it escalating, and then the girl will leave after coming up with an excuse. How can I close these better? So yeah, so it could be any number of things happening back at your place, and without me actually being there or seeing more details, it's hard for me to evaluate. So I'm going to run you through a series of scenarios that could be potentially happening. It could be any one of these. First of all, I would need to know whether these are cold approach interactions or these are online game, because that's going to make a difference. Second of all, are these being sexualized before you pull? So for example, if this is online and you're kind of sexualizing it, and then you get them back to your place and then they're bailing out, then it's clearly you're doing something way off with your escalation or you're creeping girls out. So it's going to be one of those two things. Now, if it's cold approach or maybe online for public dates, then it could be a problem of you just not setting intent, right? So you could be pulling them under the friend pretense. So that was like a big issue with guys who were following RSD a lot back in the day. It was like after party pull, right? But like those never would lead to a close, because the girls would actually think that like, yeah, we're going to some after party, and that was just some guy's fucking living room. And then like the girls are just like uncomfortable with the transition, right? So it could be any number of things. Maybe you're not making your intentions clear. Again, it doesn't have to be an explicit way or an implicit way. Maybe it's too much of a lead. Maybe you're escalating suboptimally. Now, if you're getting to the point though where you're making out, and then the girl gives you LMR, it's kind of weird. Again, I would need to know more detail to really diagnose this issue. But if you get to the point where you can make out with them on the balcony, also could be poor objection handling. Like maybe the girl is like, I don't know if I should stay, and you're taking that as a sign that she needs to go, when in reality she's just looking for a little bit of reassurance. Could be any number of things. Also, when the girl walks in, are you like offering her a drink, like letting her get a little comfortable, you're just like fucking jumping on her. I need to know more details, I would say. Got on 2 dates back to back last week, but didn't seal the deal on either of them due to them wanting more comfort with me before having sex. Is this something common? I have a second date with them though. I mean, it happens. Some chicks will just be will not or be very low likely of fucking on the first date. Like some chicks don't fuck on the first night. The girl who I was talking about, the one who I saw last night, I didn't hook up with her on the first night. Took 2 dates. Again, more comfort isn't really the underlying concern or objection. Well, it could be. Again, I would need to know more about how these dates are being run. But what exactly are these chicks saying? Are they saying like, I doubt they're actually saying, I need more comfort with you before we fuck. I think most likely they're saying, oh, I probably need to get to know you better, which really comes down to either a lack of attraction, a lack of trust, Or it could be that, for example, she thinks you're a relationship material because, women separate guys into two categories, like kind of like player, lover, slash, and then there's relationship, boyfriend type. So she could be placing you in the relationship category. And so while she might fuck a player in the first night, she's holding you to double standard. So it could be any number of things, man. But yeah, I wouldn't beat yourself up. Two dates is not like a, I've had streaks where I go on dates and I don't hook up with, a girl here and then the girl next night, whatever. As long as it's not like a recurrent pattern. From all your years of doing approaches and text game, how did you see yourself change? How did your family and friends see you change? It's a good question. How did I see myself change? I would say I became a lot more, I became a lot more comfortable with myself and comfortable. I used to have all these like weird hang-ups, I think, like growing up. This is one of the ways. I used to have all these weird hang-ups. Like, for example, I remember when I was in, was it 13, I went to sleepaway camp. And I used to have this giant paranoia about using public bathrooms, right, to take a shit. So I remember I went 5 days without pooping on this fucking sleepaway camp because I was so fucking paranoid. So it was like a lot of shit like that. And that kind of carried over to like my early, late teens, early adulthood, where I just have like hang-ups, like being naked around girls and like shit like that. So I would say that completely cleared all my hang-ups after a while. I just became a lot more confident and sure. Like, really nothing phases me anymore when it comes to women. Like, there's nothing that a girl can say or do or tell me that will like make me like shocked or like get me like throw me off my game. Like, even really crazy shit like chicks can say like, "Oh, you don't know, I'm a crazy bitch." I'm like, okay, sure. Like, tell me how much of a crazy bitch you are. And then like, she'll like tell me like, I did this. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, just nothing really phases me that much. Shit change phases me like in terms of science maybe, but like not in terms of pickup. How did my family and friends see the change? I think I've become a lot more amusing, a lot funnier because I'm just a lot more confident, right? So I think that I think I was a lot less like because I was more like shy and introverted, so I had a harder time like just expressing myself. So I think that I become like more charming and probably more like funny and amusing. Although I don't know, I might be biased. I'd have to ask like my family about that. But keep in mind, it's not like my family has stayed the same. They've also changed in the past 10 years. Like worse, like my cousin, for example, when he was 20, he was all about like banging chicks. Like now he's in like a relationship or something. So yeah, I would say those have been the big changes. I'd say I have a lot more like belief in myself and like my ability to do shit. Like if I set out to do something, like I used to like really doubt myself and like wander and stuff and maybe like get distracted. But now I can stay like on a path much longer. Right? I can suffer a lot more setback before being like distracted. Like I set out to like, for example, like to give you guys an example, one of the things was when the Facebook group got shut down, I made a goal to create a forum community, right? And a lot of the guys, in this, a lot of dating coaches told me that was like a dead end. They're like, dude, no one's gonna ever want to get off Facebook. Like, you can't get people to like, migrate to a private forum. I was like, no, like I'm gonna do it. And it took like a fucking year. Like, I had to spend a year every single day on those forums, offering value, driving people in, blah blah blah. But, like I knew I could do it, and I did do it. So it's like a lot of that. Like, we just have a lot more like, let's say like, ability to withstand like turmoil or something like that. Like I can go out on a date and the date doesn't end well, and I'm like, I just don't really care that much. Like it doesn't. Whereas maybe like 10 years ago, it would like kind of crush my night. Like wondered, maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe maybe I'm whatever. I'm not whatever. I'm fucked up and turn blah blah. Like that doesn't even enter my mind now. I'm just like whatever. Didn't work out. Not a big deal. Okay, for us shy virgins, what are some good books to understand women's social cues? Already reading Stephen Cole, Rise of Superman. So yeah, so Stephen Cole, Rise of Superman has nothing to do with game though. That's a great book for just understanding flow states, which is something you're going to get into a lot when you enter pickup, right? So like RSD calls it state, but the technical term, whatever, Stephen Cole calls it a flow state, right? So it's pretty much the same concept. So there's a scientific explanation when you're like in the zone in terms of pickup. Good books to understand women plus social cues. Mark Manson Models is a good beginning book, I would say. That's a good starting point. I start with that one. Beginners and Intermediates. What are some other good ones? There's really not that many, to be honest. So you could check out Tucker Max. I hope they serve beer in hell. That could be that's not gonna like help you understand. It's gonna be more like funny stories. They'll give you a little bit of motivation to go out. I like that one. I thought that was pretty funny, amusing. What else? Honestly, there's just not that many, unfortunately. Like most books on this topic are total dog shit. So I would check out those two for now, and then I'm gonna think on this a little bit, and then if anyone has any ideas, just throw them out in the chat. And if I read the book, I'll give you my 2 cents on it. Have you ever been on A.G. Hayden's channel? How do you think of his game? His comparison videos are good, but in one field he was going. Yeah, I actually have been on his channel. So I did a live. He came on a live stream with me a few months ago, and I was on his channel also a few months ago. What do I think of his game? It's decent. I think it's pretty decent. I haven't watched enough of it though. You got to keep in mind, Avery he's pretty young. So I think he's like 22, 23 or something like that. So he's I think for his age he's pretty decent. He's mainly like gaming on college campus and stuff, but it looks solid. I mean, his comparison videos are on point. I would say, yeah. I would say I don't disagree with anything he's ever said in any of his comparison videos. I think his analysis are spot on, and I think that I think he's solid. I don't think he's like he's super fucking great or something like that, but I think he's good, definitely for his age, for sure. Like he's definitely, I don't know how old he is exactly, but he's definitely better at 22, 23 than I was, like for sure, 100%. I actually never read The Rational Male. Yeah, I've heard summaries of what it is, but I never read the book, so I can't comment on it either way. All right, wait, I just lost track of questions. 1 second. Oh, there we go. Is Jason James and Brad Holiday good coaches? Can't comment on Brad simply because I don't know him well enough. I've actually met Jason James several times, and I can vouch for the fact that he's a good coach. I don't know if he's doing coaching currently, though, because I think that he's just too focused on his main job, which I will keep anonymous for, because I know he would want me to. But I know for a fact Jason James is a good coach. He knows game really well. He's very solid. He has a solid understanding of social dynamics, and I think he is also doesn't like go down any of the bad rabbit holes that I've seen some other coaches go down. So highly vouch for him. Can't really comment on Brad either way. If you're looking for text game, PWF is my favorite. Thank you, sir. For day game, check out James Tusk. Again, not familiar with his content enough to comment on him either way. Yeah. Hey, Alex, got a professional photo shoot like you suggested to me on the forums. Posted my pics 2 days ago and get your feedback, but you must have missed it. I can send you. Yeah, so just PM me on the forums with the link to where you posted it, the forum link, and I will take a look at it. Any inside gaming Colombian chicks in the U.S.? Depends how Colombian they are. Like, we're talking like they just moved here, or they were like spend most of their life here. For Colombian chicks who are like fresh off the boat, what would I say? Try not to be super explicit, but you want to be like manly, but you don't want to be super explicit. So you don't want to like try to sex them or do anything like that. You more want to just have like a good solid like vibe, and then get their number, and then just be simple and straightforward and move it for a date. Meet them at a bar nearby, and then escalate, build a lot of sexual tension, and just pull. So I wouldn't be like sexting them or anything like that. But other than that, really, chicks are chicks, I would say, more or less. Hi, Alex. What do you do when she ghosts you? Also, what do you do when she loses interest, and how to regain her interest again? When she ghosts me, I sent her the meme of of a skeleton sitting there with a beer and says, "Waiting for your text back," like, and then just like it's like obviously like I'm gonna die like of old age before you text me back. I think it's a funny meme. I like to use that one. But if that doesn't work, then just move the fuck on. What do you do if she loses interest? Well, why did she lose interest? Did she lose interest because we went on a date and the date wasn't good? In that case, there's nothing you can do. Would she lose interest because she just has like maybe an unanswered concern or objection or something like that that just popped up? So in which case, I'll try to figure out what it is, what actually is the problem, and address it. So yeah, I would try to figure out why exactly she lost interest first, and then once you can determine that, then you can kind of deal with it appropriately. All right. Is it better to have the frame that you're only looking for something casual, even if you want a relationship? What if the girl looking for a boyfriend, you risk that she loses interest? Okay, I see. Is it better to have the frame that you're looking for something casually for one? No, I think the best frame to have is that you're open. So you're not sure. You're undecided. You're an undecided voter, right? So that's why I like to say when girls ask me what you're looking for, I like to say meet a cool girl who I have chemistry with, right? Because that's kind of vague. It could be I could meet a girl who I have chemistry with for a night of crazy sex, or it could be for a lifetime of romance, right? It's kind of vague, and so that's why I like to kind of be open, right? I like just generally say the frame I have is like, hey, listen, I'm going into this with open mind. Like it's just going to depend. Like let's just see how the chemistry is, and we can take it from there. That's what I think the best frame to have by far is, rather than having a hard thing that you're looking for. Like I just want this. Like I don't think that's, because then again you're going to miss out on all the other girls who are not looking for that. I see people down judge Anthony Chris and EP. How do you drop the ego and become humble to improve your game? I think these are two different questions, right? I see people doubting John Anthony Crisalvino and Indian PE. So these are all people who I know well, and I like all of them. So to answer the first part of the question, I personally like all three of these people. How do you drop the ego and become humble to improve game? So that's a tricky question. You have to you have to realize that what your ego is kind of costing you. So, for example, is it like, oh, you have to be able to, well, I think self-awareness, it comes down to the first step is self-awareness. So you have to be aware of the situation. Okay, I lost this girl because I got butthurt because of my ego, right? So what do I want to do? Do I want to be right, or do I want to get laid? What's more important to me? Is it more important for me to have a good sex life, or for me to, win, whatever, prove some point to myself? So when you kind of look at it like that, it becomes almost silly to have an ego. I think another part of it is just to be open and just humble yourself a little bit. Just like whatever, like what it didn't happen. Like I don't know how to explain this. This is a tough question. It's also a complicated question. I think that one, being self-aware, and two, just being open to being wrong about shit, right? Like I don't know, like I make videos twice a week, right? And sometimes my videos do great, sometimes my videos don't do well at all, right? But I'm just okay with that. Like it's a little bit of like an ego hit every time a video I put out kind of bombs, but I'm like, okay, whatever. Like there'll be other ones, and just being able to constantly take those hits and move forward and move past it. With cold approach, will be like, if you get rejected, it's like, okay, whatever. Like it doesn't affect who I am as a person, and just moving on. That's kind of how you start to let go of your ego a little bit. What are essential elements you need to have in your bio on Tinder? Essential elements. I would say that, well, I don't think there are any essentials that you need to have. I think that you could even, bio is the least important part of your Tinder profile. Obviously pictures are the most important part. But I would say that one, you want to have the city that you're living in, especially if it's like a touristy city. So I live in Miami, so I have Miami in there. Two, if you're over 5'10", 5'9", yeah, 5'10", you want to have your height, right? So, maybe exaggerated by an inch or two, possibly. So, for example, I have 6'0" in there. And then I would say that it's good to have some kind of a hook, right? So my hook would be, I'll give you as part of my bio. It says, my passion is traveling around the world and seductively whispering Russian in your ear, right? So what does that sentence do? First of all, it says that I like to travel, I have a passion, I speak a foreign language, and it's also kind of fun and flirty. So like a lot of girls will say, ooh, I didn't know Russian could be sexy. So that's kind of like the hook, right? So I think it's good to have a hook. And then I think it's good to have almost like low-key things that girls can qualify themselves on. So I have weaknesses, great ass, and accents, right? So a lot of girls can be like, oh, I'm your weakness, or whatever. Like, oh, I have one of your weaknesses. So it provides girls easy opportunity to start qualifying themselves. I think the most important thing not to have in your bio is something that fucks you up. So something retarded. Like, a lot of guys put like stupid dick jokes in there. I saw one guy had in his bio like, whatever, I have a small penis according to my sister, something really weird and creepy like that. And I was like, why the fuck would you have that? He's like, oh, it's funny. I'm like, it's not funny at all. Like, it's not even funny to me. It's definitely not gonna be funny to these girls who think that you're like fucking have a small penis and you're showing it to your sister. That's extra like negative points. So yeah, don't have anything retarded in there. That's an extreme example, but point stands. When I asked, what's your schedule? I should, but still busy. I'm excited to meet you, but not soon. Okay, how would you reply? But not too soon. I would try to figure out why. I think it's important to figure out why. I would probably say husband is in town, question mark, something like that. So that's like a playful way of trying to figure out why she is hesitating, to meet. Is it because of Corona? Is it because she has finals? Is it because she just got a relationship? Like, what, you need to figure out what the underlying reason here is. What do you guys think of guys asking the same exact general questions on every week? It's annoying. Like, they haven't even seen a video. A moderator would help. I mean, I get so many, like, I get pretty much I would say 70% of the questions I answer are some variation of beginner stuff. I don't know. It doesn't really bother me too much. I don't really give a shit. Yeah, I would say I think there probably is some better way. I think the problem is that a lot of guys, because I have a lot of content, a lot of guys have a hard time finding it, and also people are kind of lazy. So people like, oh, I could dig through all his content, or I could just ask this question, even though it's probably been answered. Again, I don't care. It doesn't bother me at all. I think that actually part of the fault is on me. I need to figure out some way to basically I need like a table of contents or something for all my content, so guys can very easily skim through it and figure out if this question has been answered. So I'm actually it's a good thing that you asked me this question, because I'm gonna add it to my to-do list. So I'm gonna make some kind of like table of contents that's gonna link you to the right resource. Even though we do have something like that on the website, I'm gonna expand it and make it more available. So yeah, it's a good question. In high school, I was made fun of for saying I like to eat out a woman. Why are men against this? Against even using toys? I was made fun of for saying I like to eat out a woman. Dude, people in high school are retarded. I was made fun of for the dumbest things. I was made fun of for being Russian in high school. Like, now Russian to school, apparently. I don't know. I didn't think that was like even a strength. Like, the fact that I spoke Russian, I didn't think that like chicks would like that until I was like in my mid-20s. And I had numerous chicks who I hooked up would be like, why didn't you tell me you spoke Russian? That's fucking hot. I was like, really? Like, I was like embarrassed for that. So don't like even take any heed into what retards in high school say. I don't think men are against this at all. I just think high schoolers are retarded. So talk to people who are older, and you're gonna get a completely different response. Do you ever try to convince girls who say when COVID is over, or do you write them off as time I'm only looking for a text buddy? Yeah, I do. So I have a whole video on this, how to get laid during coronavirus, so check that out. Also have numerous LRs on the forums where I break down exactly how I text, examples of me, like whatever, convincing girls who were worried about COVID to come over. So yeah, I definitely give it a shot. I find I get a lot less of that nowadays though, because it's been like 7 months of the shit. Honestly, like if a chick brings up the COVID thing now, I'm almost like, are you serious? Like, we've been fucking doing this game for 7 months now. Like, are you kidding me? Like, so, but I find I'm almost never getting it. Like, it's almost like everyone, at least in Miami, everyone's like, oh, fuck this shit. Like, whatever. This is going to be around forever. Like, we don't give a shit anymore. How to explore kinks with women and how to escalate bondage, leashes, spitting, face slapping, etc. So this is all kind of advanced stuff. So I wouldn't do this if I was just like, just getting started with women and pickup and sex. But I think that, I think there's different levels of this. The first level would be just asking, right? That's the most basic way. Just literally, if like, you're, again, right time and place, but you're, your intimate setting, maybe on your couch, you're drinking, or ideally after you had sex with a girl. So typically the first time I have sex with a girl, it's not that crazy, right? And then like afterwards, it's a good time to kind of like, when her shield is down, your shield is down, it's a good time to like ask about this kind of shit. And then, next time you hook up, then you can kind of make it happen. Also, I keep a Hitachi magic wand on my nightstand, so that facilitates a lot of these conversations very easily, because chicks will see that and they'll be like, oh, what other toys do you have? I'm like, wow, what are you into? And so that's like very easy. Sometimes you can just ask. A lot of times you can also like just kind of guess, but then of course I would confirm verbally. I'm like, you strike me as the type of chick who enjoys blah, 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 blah. She's like, wow, how do you know that? Well, that's more advanced, because you have to be able to get really good at reading chicks, which, takes a lot of practice. Okay. Key things to focus on in your game and online texting for growth as a beginner. I would say not being over. So we're gonna first start with text game. Not being over gamey. This is the most common mistake I see on the internet by far. Guys who are just over gamey, overdoing it. Not being over gamey. Not being needy. And getting the chick invested, and then smoothly closing. If you can do these 4 things, you're no longer a beginner. You can do these 4 things, right? So again, let's rehash. 1, not being overly gamey, right? 2, not being needy. 3, getting the girl invested somewhat. Doesn't have to be anything crazy, but someone invested in the conversation. And 4, smoothly closing, right? Focus on these 4 things. In terms of game, I would say, again, I would say in terms of when you meet the girl in real life, just uh, pulling and closing. I would say that's a big one. Um, just having fun and cracking jokes. Guys can kind of go the other way and become a dancing monkey. But okay, another one is eye contact. So having good eye contact, being able to look the girl in the eye, but it can't be in a way where it's like super forced, like like staring her down. More just like a natural kind of like smooth, intense type of way, right? So it's not like it's more just like chill, like slow. So I would say eye contact, physically touching her like correctly. You know, I touch girls pretty fast when I meet them, but like not in a Donald Trump, I'm gonna grab your pussy type of way, but more in a like kind of smooth type of way. I give the girl a hug. I might like within a few minutes find a reason to touch her knee or something like that, and then kind of based on how she reacts to that, it'll tell me if I can escalate more. I need to give it a little bit more time. Also, just getting the chick talking, right? So what you don't want to do on dates is you don't want to start talking about yourself a lot. I never do that. Never did that actually either. So what you want to do is you want to get the chick to open up and just talk and shoot the shit. Like if the chick is talking, a good amount, but it's like she's laughing, she's talking, then you're more or less on the right track. So I'd say those would be the things I would probably start focusing. I don't want to throw too much shit at you, but yeah, I would say just focus on those for now. I'm pretty good in person, but the small talk or text games that screws me up. How can I improve? Don't think of it small talk. So game is not. There's no part of text game where you have to get small talk. The goal is not to do that. The goal is to get the chick a little bit invested in the conversation. Now, sometimes small talk can do that, but it's not the best way to get a chick invested. So two ways that I found. Here are two little. I'm gonna give you guys two examples. One is whenever I see a chick who has a picture of a dog, I bring up the dog thing, right? Sometimes it's my second or third message. I'll say like, is that your dog in the picture? Or is that your dog, right? And usually that will get the chick invested because what I found was since I got a dog, I became like super passionate about like, dog shit, right? Whereas when I didn't have a dog, I didn't really care that much. So I've noticed I'm like, well, if I'm like that, probably chicks who are even more emotional are gonna be even more like that. And my theory turned out to be correct. So I like to do that and chicks start talking about their dogs and then I'll bring up my dog, and then they get invested, and then I'll sometimes say like, oh, maybe we can go on a double date, and that's kind of like using the we frame and kind of segueing things forward, right? Sometimes I'll go for the soft close off that. If the chick is like, haha, yeah, we should. I'll say, do you like wine? And then she'll say, yeah, and then I'll go for the regular close. Another thing that I've been doing, because I live in Miami, and it's mostly a lot of people are not from here originally. Like they immigrated here, which can be said about any major city. I'll say you're from here originally, and that's also another good way to get the conversation started because it starts talking chicks about travel. So those are two very basic things, very simple, that can get a chick invested in the conversation. So again, the goal is not so much like how's it going, how are you. The goal is to find a thread that you can use to get the chick invested, right? Because once she's invested, I mean, she's going to be more likely to comply with whatever it is that you're going to ask, whether it's to go on a date or, to move things over to text or whatever. In day game, for the Insta date, it all depends on the girl. See if she likes bars, bookstores, coffee, she just take her. Dude, honestly, I don't really do Insta dates, nor do I think that they're a good use of time. The only time I think that Insta dates are acceptable is if you are trying to go for the same day lay, you're trying to pull her that night. For example, say you're in the city for a few days, right? So say I'm in Finland for the weekend. not saying that's something that would actually happen because I would travel across the world just for the weekend, but whatever. Some situation like that. Only have a few days, and I have nothing going on that day. So that might be a situation where I might go on an instant date with a girl because it'll allow me to kill two birds with one stone. Get closer to sex and do some sightseeing at the same time. Right. So then, that might be a situation. But generally speaking, like in my day-to-day life in Miami, like I think instant dates are a waste of time. Like I usually would rather just do other shit. I think that a 5-minute conversation, even like a 3-minute conversation, that's solid where it's not just you doing all the talking, where she's actively participating in the conversation, where it's not like you pressure her to get a number, but she actively wants to hang out with you. Those are going to be just as effective as an hour-long instant date, honestly, in terms of getting the second date. So I think instant dates are highly, highly overrated. Unique re-engagement text. I could send girls that haven't responded for months to apps. All this usual. Don't think too hard or stalking all cold reads, but just thanks. You can mass blast out. I mean, you just named two of the ones I like to use. But you can mass blast out the skeleton meme. So check out our Instagram at Real Playing Fire. We have it on there. That could be one. One I've been having a lot of success with lately is this is only going to work if the chick has like been kind of flaky. Is I genuinely didn't take you for the flaky type. I found the re-engagement on that to be really good because chicks are sometimes have 3-4 missed texts in a row, and then I send that and they're like, oh, like I'm not flaky. I'm sorry. I've just been blah blah blah. So I've had a lot of success with that one. So yeah, those are 2 ideas I would say. Thanks, bro. I've seen great results being matched in leads because of your content. Thanks, bro. I'm glad to hear. All right. On the Facebook page, I saw a guy got looped. He had dominant in the bio, but the girl got geeky bot from him. She was probably into something more intense. How can he change the frame? I would really need to see the example that you're talking about. I'm also not familiar with what does loop mean. You guys got to keep in mind, I'm 30 years old. I don't know all these fucking cool ass pickup lingo. Looped. Yeah, I would need to see the example to figure out exactly what happened. It could be that he was incongruent, meaning like if he copied the Playing with Fire bio, that I recommend copy my bio, but he wasn't congruent with it, right? So that's why I always say don't copy my exact words or exact things I do, because they're very much suited for my personality, right? If I was to copy, if I was to take like the profile of a hardcore dom, right? That probably wouldn't work that well for me. I mean, I could probably pull it off, but it would be a bit of a challenge because I also am like kind of sarcastic and a bit goofy. So, that wouldn't be really that congruent with me. Yeah, but I think a lot of guys are even like dorkier and more goofy than me. So for them, what I do is not really congruent. So I think you want to be somewhat congruent with what you do. You want to push yourself to the edge of your comfort zone, but you still need to be congruent. Me, what are you looking for? Her friends. Me sounds exciting. Her, so you're saying if I was being just my friend, correct? How to reply? So what are you looking for is something. So I know you got that from my text game examples. You got to keep in mind though, when I don't really use that much anymore, but when I used to use it is when I had a pretty sexual bio. So that's what made it work, right? I had a shirtless picture and a sexual bio. So when I would ask girls, what are you looking for? I already kind of knew the answer because they matched with me. So it was almost like a rhetorical question, so as to speak. So if you just have like a pretty friendly bio and profile, and also I'm not sure, it also depends on where you live. If you live in like Asia or like Eastern Europe or South America, that's not going to be a good question to ask, period. So that's only also works. I lived in Los Angeles when I was doing that, right? Which is chicks there are pretty sexually liberated. But anyway, to answer your question, if I'm just being my friend, correct? I would say, I would probably over-exaggerate. I would say, yeah, don't worry, I hate sex. I would say, don't worry, I hate sex. That would probably be my exact response. Aren't a lot of dudes kind of weird there that aren't pickup? Yeah, for sure. Definitely a lot are. But I would say Playing with Fire attracts a lot less of the weird crowd. Like I've met up with a lot of fans from Playing with Fire, and most of them have been pretty cool, I would say, which is kind of mind-blowing because I would say the average pickup guy is kind of creepy or just odd. Not creepy, odd, I would say. But I mean, I would say that also a lot of people are weird in general. Like, dude, you see so many weirdos just like anything. Like the non-weird people are going to be the people who are going to be very social, who are going to be going out. Like those are going to be generally the smallest percentage of whatever weirdos. But then like anyone who's like into anything where they stay at home or whatever, like Dungeons and Dragons or whatever, is going to have way more weirdos than like pickup, for example. Disagree. If you're awkward around women or socially anxious, the more you expose yourself to women, have the theory down, you'll get better around girls, and that's a fact. Well, I'm not one to argue with God, but yeah, no. I've seen so many dudes who've been doing cold approach for 5-10 years, and they're still exactly as awkward. Now, anxious, yes, you might desensitize yourself to the anxiety. So with that part, I do agree. But just desensitizing yourself to anxiety, for most people, it's not going to fix the issue. They also have, well, it depends on the person. Some people are, if they can just desensitize themselves, that's going to be good enough. But for a lot of guys, especially the really weird ones, they also have like a lot of whatever childhood trauma, a lot of socialization issues. They just don't understand how socialization works. So yeah, so for them, just doing more cold approaches, it's not going to be a solution here, especially because most of the time they're striking out. So it's like, so okay, think about it this way. Dude goes out. He has dog shit game. He gets rejected 20 times, right? He approaches 20 girls, gets rejected 20 times, goes home, and what does he think? He's like, okay, well, fuck, I failed. Now he can try to delude himself to thinking it was a good day, but most likely he's going to be internally be like, fuck, like, damn it, like another day of rejection. Okay, tomorrow I have another day of rejection. Then Wednesday is going to be another day of rejection. Friday, guess what's on Friday? Another day of rejection. So I don't think that's going to be the solution for that guy. Like he has to, first of all, you have to enter a positive, a little bit of a positive cycle. So you need some success in your life. You can't just be failing, failing, failing. A lot of these guys are doing just pure cold approach and sucking at it. They're just failing all the time. Maybe they get laid once a year. Like that's not what they approaching 365 days a year. They get laid once. It's fucking horrible. Worst odds ever. So yeah, I don't think that is the end all be all solution that a lot of pickup purists or whatever touted out to be. Many men think that they happen to be the stoic alpha chat, showing no feelings. However, men like you are just chill, embrace your nerd side. How do you become a chill guy? I don't know, man. Like, I would say I've always been pretty chill. It's not like I was super, I don't know, like super duper alpha or something in high school or something like that. I've always been like pretty laid back. I don't know, just like not giving a shit about things, just kind of finding the humor in situations, just not letting shit phase you, just kind of having fun also. Like, I also very much, the thing is, I also very much know what I like and what I don't like, and I don't really put myself in situations that I'm not gonna like. For example, I fucking hate clubs, right? If we go to a club and we're there for an hour, you're not gonna think I'm chill and funny and cool. You're gonna think that I'm just like some miserable fucking bastard, because I'm gonna be like fucking chugging drinks and like just being miserable, because I fucking hate clubs. I also hate I don't know, like just there's a lot of things like that, like certain social situations I just don't like. So I just don't put myself in situations where I'm not going to be happy, right? I just avoid all that. Like I don't like lately I'm not a fan of camping, like sleeping in the woods and shit like that. So I'm not going to do it, right? I don't care if all my best friends think it's awesome. If a girl who I like wants to do it. I don't like museums. That's not most museums. So whatever me and my family travel and they go to a museum, I just go to the gym or just whatever, go to the beach. I'm not going to do it. So I'm not gonna put myself in situations that are going to make me be unhappy, right? So I think that's a big part of being chill, is just knowing what you like and putting yourself in situations where you can be happy. I would say that's a big one, right? I don't know if that answers the question well, so just feel free to ask me like a follow-up question based on that. How to Tinder older males? Should you change your age? Depends how young you are, but honestly, I wouldn't say so. I think if you're older and you're trying to go down, then it might make sense to change your age. But if you take your age up, then you're gonna miss out on all the younger girls. I went through a huge MILF phase when I was about 22, 23. Literally, I remember one time I was walking around the Grove. It's like this big outdoor mall in LA, and I met this lady, and literally her words were, "Oh my God, my grandson is like the same age as you." I was like, fuck yeah, like, she was pretty hot for like a 50-something-year-old, or maybe her son, whatever. Anyway, so I knew she had grandkids. That was the premise of the story. But so I would say keep doing what you're doing. There's going to be some older ladies who want a younger guy, and those are the ones you're going to get. You're not going to get the older ladies who are just like only want to date guys their own age, right? But actually, I found that a good amount of older women, like they want a younger guy. Maybe they were married to some limp dick old guy for a while. Now they're like 45. They're at the peak of their sex drive. They want like a younger, hot, young stud. So those are the chicks. I would say the biggest factor is if you want older males, actually get in good shape. So kind of get jacked, right? Because they want like that young, hot, whatever stud. They don't want someone who's like flabby. So just, I don't know. As they say, it's always sunny in Philadelphia. You got to get hard. How do you invest your money? Dude, I'm the worst person to ask this question to. I literally just was asking another guy I know who owns a business about this 2 weeks ago, and he was giving me like the basics on investing. One good book that I recently did read that I thought was pretty interesting was Master the Money Game by Tony Robbins. Whatever, the book on money by Tony Robbins. I thought that was pretty good. It really just, all it does is talk about investing and all that shit. But honestly, dude, I'm the worst at this. I'm not in the stock market. I don't own property. I rent my place. I keep my money, my excess money, my savings in a high yield savings account, or like that's still dog shit. It's like 1%. So yeah, I'm not the worst person. I'm pretty good at not wasting my money, but I'm not really that good at like investing. So I kind of, with that, even though I'm prone to take risks in life, with like when it comes to money and financial things, I don't really take that much risk. I'm not going to invest in like the stock market or something like that, or at least invest a lot of money in the stock market and just have it all go down the toilet or something like that when the economy crashes. If you were super rich, would you just hire hookers and Instagram models like Game did? But if you're doing it, no, I would not. I personally, I would not because that would make me happy. It would just, I would feel, I would actually, that would make me unhappy. That would make me feel bad about myself. The fact that I'm hiring hookers to get laid. Like, so I know personally I would not. I think that if I was super rich, I would probably do something similar to what Dan Bilzerian does, to be honest. So I would just, get a mansion, probably invest a lot of my money in like a cool company that I'm passionate about, but then get like a mansion, have like badass parties, just do like, cool shit like fucking, like parachute and stuff like that, just like badass stuff like that, and just kind of do the whole lifestyle game type of thing that he does. So I think I would probably do something similar to what he does. Looks, money, game, pick two, and why. That's a good question. Well, looks would be one of them because you can't. So if you don't have money, you can always make money. If you don't have game, you can learn game. But looks, you can only go so far. So if you're a 5, you'll never be a 10. You can be a 7. If you get jacked and get your facial hair at style point, but you can only do so much with whatever, in terms of looks. So that would be one of them. Now, do I rather have money or game? Well, that just comes down to, is it harder for me to make money or to learn game? Really depends on my starting point. I don't know. Honestly, probably game, because I never really cared about money that much. That's just kind of me. I've never been motivated by money. Like, that's never been like a primary motivator for me. Truly, if I'm just at a point where I'm like financially independent and can afford all the things I want, which really wouldn't even be that much, I would be content. Like, to me, there's no difference between having $10 million and having $1 billion. It's almost like the same shit. Like, the only difference is I could help out people who I like my family and shit. But I don't know. So probably game, but it might be. But I'm kind of talking shit. It might be money also. I don't know. Looks would be one. And I would have to think about which one, money or game. Which one do I want? And again, I could always learn the game, especially if I have money. It's a tough one. Do you ever run other compounds on your tier T like Anavar or Primo? No, I never have. Simply because 2 reasons. One is hair loss. So you can see I have a little bit of receding hairline. It used to be a lot worse. I've done like PRP injections, and I do peptides for my hair. I do GHGACU, fucking $300 or $200 peptide. And then I do Rogaine, I do derma rolling. So I put a lot of like effort into not losing hair. So Anavar or Primo would go directly against that. That'll be the first thing. Second thing is just side effects. Honestly, I also don't feel like I really need it. I'd be much more interested in doing like HGH or something like that, something that's a little bit more regenerative, adding HGH than I am and adding like, hardcore steroids. So if I ever do decide to like, I don't want to like boost some shit, I would definitely go to the HGH route, which is kind of what Dan Bilzerian does. But another thing I would probably do is probably raise my dose of testosterone before trying. Like, honestly, like I take a therapeutic dose of testosterone. I've never done the bodybuilder dose, but if I did decide, I really need to get jacked ASAP, I would probably just increase my dose of testosterone rather than like add a steroid. And also with the, testosterone I get from a pharmacy, right? It's like I trust the source. With these steroids, you never really know. Like, it could be covered with dirty shit, and I'm just like pretty weary of like putting. Not that I think I could die or something like that. I'm just be weary of putting like whatever chemicals that I don't trust the source into my body, if that makes sense. The only other thing I do is I do peptides. So I do like, VPC 157. That's more for healing, but it does help a little bit. I do IGF-1 LR3. I just started that. So that's going to be like the level before human growth hormone, right? It's like a more natural way of like boosting your whatever growth hormone type of levels. So yeah, I would say those. But that's probably as far as I'm ever going to go. I love the gym. I love working out. I like looking good, but I'm just not that fucking motivated by bodybuilding. I don't need to be like the biggest guy in the room. The hardest race you've worked with, dude. I don't know, because there's some cool ass Indian guys who are super easy to coach, and there's some Indian guys who are super hard. There's some white guys who are super easy, and some white guys who are super hard. So I have not noticed a pattern where it's like this fucking race is the hardest. I've had easy and difficult clients from literally every race imaginable. So, and I have not personally observed. It's not to say that there aren't any correlation, but I just personally haven't observed anything drastic. how do you become friends with you? What do you like in your friend circle? Honestly, like I would say offer me value of some kind. So if you can offer me something that I find valuable, that would be the best way. And that's honestly, I think, one of the best ways to make friends in general, right? So for example, let's take a look. Like what value do I bring to my friend circle? Well, like I have the whole fact that I can get them laid on online dating and help them with their pussy situation, which is actually a lot of guys place a lot of high value on that. So for example, very common, like my friends will be like, hey man, like I hate to ask you, but can you just take a quick look at my Tinder profile? And I'm always happy to do it for like my close friends. But it's like that's like a big value I bring to the table. Also, I know YouTube and marketing at least somewhat now, so that's another thing. So any of my friends who are like into business, that's like another thing, those are the values I bring. I'm also pretty fucking funny, at least I like to think so. So bring some kind of value to me. Like for example, like if you're a really good marketer, that might be something that, that's a lot of value. And you're like, hey man, listen, like, I want to help you with your website a little bit. Like that might be, like my tech guy, the guy who initially, who became my tech guy, he initially hit me up and said, hey man, I noticed this is what your website looks like. I just decided for fun to recreate it and actually built a better version of your website on WordPress. And I was like so impressed. I'm like, dude, like you're fucking hired. Like that's awesome. Like I want you to work with me. And now me and him are pretty good friends now. Well, so we're like best friends, but I definitely consider him my friend. Now, but that happened initially just because it was a value exchange. So for example, if you live in Miami, you're connected with like some hot ass girls and you can invite them to like social circle parties, or you have a jet ski or something like that. Like I would say just offer me some kind of value. In terms of like, it's not that like all my old friends, like they would say they offer, some of them don't offer me any value, but I've known them for so long, I'm always gonna be friends with them. But for like new people, again, it's just like, I would say like it starts with offering some kind of value to the person. Unless of course like, we're working together or something like that, and then we just become friends naturally or something along the lines of that. I've become friends with like some of the people who go to the same gym as me. That's purely through coincidence because whatever, we're working on the same machine at the same time. In between sets, we like shoot the shit. Or like one of my neighbors, right? But it's because our dogs play with each other. But aside from these coincidences, it has to be like value. Ever met RSD or simple pickup guys? Any stories? So I met, yes, I met some of the RSD guys. I met RSD Julian. Me and him used to be in the same yoga class. He's a super cool guy, honestly. I can't say anything negative about him. He seemed chill, humble, but just like a solid, good guy, some guy that would definitely be like down chill with. So, I just got a good vibe from him, honestly. Yeah, so good things about Julian. Met Tyler a few times. Did not get the best vibe from him. He just seemed like a little, he actually seemed very socially awkward. I mean, maybe I caught him at a really bad time. I remember I was driving. He was hanging out, like, I was back when I used to live in LA. He was hanging out, like, for some reason on my corner talking to someone. I saw him, and I've seen him around, like, at different conferences and stuff. So, like, yo, what's up, Owen? And he got, like fucking almost had a spasm or something like that. So, yeah, didn't get the best vibe from that guy. Met RSD Todd briefly. He seemed like a chill, humble guy at the time. This was a while ago. Never met any of the simple pickup guys. So, yeah, can't really comment on them. Although one of my old roommates was going to work for them, so I actually did get an inside look on the financial situation of simple pickup. But he went through multiple steps of the interview with them, so I kind of heard about them directly through that. Honestly, what he told me is they're very business oriented. Like they're just like normal, just like your average guy, like business oriented, normal, like nothing like super spectacular or super weird or anything like that. How did I meet Indian P? So I met Indian P through my old business partner, David. He was living with Indian P, and then he introduced us, and then me and him just hit it off. And then first time we ever met was in Colombia, actually, because I was going down there and invited him to come along, and he was also trying to travel. So we wound up, that was the first time we met. It was cool. Like we got along really well. We have a very much the same sense of humor, both like kind of like sarcastic as fuck, and we like to troll. So yeah, we got along pretty well. Most money you made from a client sales in game. I had one client pay me, what was it, like $1,200 for like 2 hours of coaching or something like that. I can't give away, and he told me to keep it on low key, but let's just say he was a very, very prominent, successful person in the Middle East. I'll just leave it at that. just to respect his privacy. But yeah, so it was something like ridiculous, like $1,200 for 2 hours, something like that. Yeah. I texted a girl, hope you're not all talk, and she responded, no, I'm not. Should I go for the close? Good. Do you like wine? Yeah, go for it. That's a good time. Yeah, strike while the iron is hot. Is there a point to monogamy you can just find a wife who lets you do game and has threesomes with you? Well, I don't know if you. I don't know if I agree with your premise. I don't know if you can find a wife who lets you do game and has threesomes with you. Meaning, you can find a wife who will let you do it, but whether she is actually going to become resentful towards you is a different question. So a lot of chicks might go along with it, but then they will become resentful. And then she's like, well, he gets to fuck other girls. Why don't I get to fuck other guys, right? So at that point, you basically become swingers, right? Are you cool with your wife getting fucked by another dude? Probably not. So then, okay. So I don't know if it is possible to be in a polygamous, successful relationship. I don't know. I have my doubts on that. I know some people disagree with me on this, but I'm going off my own experience. I had an open relationship when I was 20 with a chick, and I don't know, it's just like when I would hook up with a girl, we had a rule. So if you hooked up with anyone else, you told the person, and just like she would get resentful. And when I found out she hooked up with someone else, I would get resentful. Like, it's not like I can get mad at her because we have an open relationship. I didn't like that idea. There was just like, I noticed that even though me and her really liked each other, there was just a lot of resentment that built up in the relationship. Whereas that didn't really happen when I was in my second relationship, which was more monogamous. So there was no real resentment there. The only resentment was a little bit on my part because sometimes I felt like I was turning down pussy to be with this girl. So there was a little bit of resentment on that front, but there was no resentment building up on her end because she was happy, right? So I think that the key to being in a relationship, honestly, is getting to a point where you no longer really want to fuck other people. Like, you've just had so much sex with so many people, you just don't really care anymore. Like, for you, that loses its appeal, and now the appeal is in maybe starting a family or something like that. So again, if you don't get out of your system, that's the mistake I think most guys make. They get into these relationships out of scarcity. So maybe they're like Harris 10 or 20 or even 30 girls, right? But they haven't fulfilled all their fantasies. They didn't, fuck the big titty Latina or the nerdy librarian yet, and they get into a relationship with a chick that's pretty cool. Then, like, after a year or so, they're like, well, fuck, I still want to do all this shit. Now I'm never going to get to do it. So they start becoming resentful. So once you can do all the stuff that you want to do, and that loses its appeal, and now you want to have different goals and priorities, then I think that's the time to get into a relationship. Okay, wait, we just lost the questions. Hang on one second. What are some success stories you've had with fat clients and some negative points that to overcome with fat clients? I mean, I've had crazy success stories with like virgin clients. Like recently, I don't know if you guys saw the video I did with how to lose your virginity. Well, this guy was a virgin for a while, and then we got him late, and it was just like, I don't know, man, like the change in him. He was just like, he was so happy. Like he just explained he had like this monkey off his back, but he wasn't fat. He was just like kind of like a fobby Indian guy. Fat clients. I don't know if I've had many fat clients, to be honest. But honestly, like, I'd have to think about it. But honestly, you gotta lose the weight. Like, it's not, you can get laid if you're fat. Like David, for example, is fat. And, as much as I don't like him now, one thing I cannot take away from him is that he definitely gets laid. Like, he has pretty good game and he gets laid, right? He was getting laid before he met me, and he was getting laid during when I met me. I'm sure he's getting laid now, unless he's hung himself because he's so distraught that he's not part of PWF anymore. But so I would say that it is possible, but why make things harder for yourself? Like, I would say make your goal to lose weight. Honestly, like, really a big part of weight loss is just count calories in, calories out. So enter calorie deficit every day, do intermittent fasting, make things easier for yourself, drink coffee, which do and other stuff that's like an appetite suppressant, and just focus on losing the weight. A lot of fat guys think like, oh, I gotta run 2 hours a day, but like, nah, it's really the biggest part of it is calories in, calories out. So yeah, I'd say focus on losing weight. Why is it that women can connect with you emotionally so deeply, but then a few days later be hating you? Well, women are very emotional creatures. So people are in general. So people make emotional decisions. They don't make logical decisions most of the time, right? Even though a lot of guys try to think of themselves so logically, I learned this from doing sales pretty quickly. People make $20,000-$30,000 purchases on an emotional an emotional level. They don't do it on a logical level. Because logically, there's always other quotes they can get. There's always this. There's always that. There's always more time they can take to think about it. Blah 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 blah. So let's to connect this to women. Women, they might feel you emotionally 1 minute, right? So so you had a great night together, whatever, you had a night of epic sex, and then she feels you and she feels really connected and she feels open. Her feelings are so positive for you. But then let's say 2 days later, whatever, she goes on your Instagram, she sees a picture of you with another girl, right? And then she has a strong wave of negative emotions towards you, right? So emotions are temporary, right? That's why you can feel, super good at 4 p.m. and you can feel like shit at 8 p.m. Even though that's like an extreme swing, you can feel really good one day and feel shitty the next day, right? So same thing. Now, of course, women are all different. Some women, they're less volatile. Their emotions are more like steady, right? It's gonna be a little bit of up, a little bit of down. Some women are just like this, and also some men are like this. So again, it's just the nature of human beings. Have you ever heard of Coach Kyle? Has a cold approach, seems pretty solid. Yeah, I have heard of him. I saw a little bit of his infield. I agree. He does actually, from what I've seen, he seems quite good. He seems pretty solid. Yeah, I actually invited him to come on a live stream a few weeks ago, but he never responded. He responded briefly, but he didn't follow through. So if any of you guys know him, hit him up. Tell him to come on the Playing with Fire podcast live stream. I'd love to have him on. I think it'd be an interesting guest to interview. Or just not interested. Like, how do women get so cold so fast? Again, this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, emotions are volatile, so they go up and down. It kind of more like, say you're up, but there's also ways to like anchor. So, for example, sex is a huge anchor. Like, if you have sex with a woman, that just like it's almost like, again, sex is different value for different women, but on average, it's like you got this like investment from her. That's why, like, with a chick who you've had sex with, especially if a chick you've had sex with several times, like, you have this like in, so as to speak. So even if you do something she doesn't like, it's like it's harder for you to lose that whatever because she's already so emotionally invested because she did something intimate with you. So I would say that's like a big cheat code, is just having sex. But yeah, so it just kind of is what it is, just human nature. Just to give you a quick example, like I remember when I was like growing up, my dad was always like the type that he would just go through these mood swings. So sometimes most of the time he'd be fairly cool, but sometimes he'd just be a giant fucking dick. And I remember, one time me and him we went on a trip to Mexico. So when I was like 18 or 19, and he was just being the biggest fucking dick to me. Like in the airport, like when we got to the hotel, he was just being a giant asshole to me. And I kind of put up with it for like about 8 hours. And then that night when I was drinking and my dad was like kind of trying to be a dick to me again, I just fucking flipped out. We almost went to jail because we almost got into a fight in the middle of the street. I just kind of reached my boiling point, right? But that's kind of illogical because my dad's been cool to me all my life and I clearly love him. But it's like, but in that moment, even though I like to think of myself as pretty rational and logical, because there had been, I was able to forget about the 18 good years that we had together. And just because just shit built up that day, I just kind of like fucking let loose and maybe like, went too far and said some things I didn't really mean later on. So yeah, so that would be like the same thing with women, but gotta keep in mind women are even more emotional than, for example, I am. So you can have like, a month, like say you're on vacation, you have like 2 weeks, they're great, a great time together. And then a day where, something this happens, the chick might be acting like almost like she's forgetting about the other 2 weeks. And that's because emotionally she doesn't see that. Like she just knows what she's feeling at that moment, right? It's not like women can be like, well, we did have 2 good weeks together, so I'm gonna actually override my emotion to be a bitch to him and be super nice to him. That's just not how emotions work. Difference between having a player mindset. I'm not really sure what a boyfriend mindset is, but what I can tell you is that a big mistake I see is that a lot of guys, they think that they need to pretend to be boyfriend material to sleep with a girl. It's a double negative. First of all, it's not an effective strategy. I can tell you that firsthand. Because what chicks do is, one, they either think that you're faking it, if it seems like you're congruent, or if you're really good at putting on that front, then they're like, okay, well, this guy wants to be my boyfriend, so I probably should not fuck him on the first night. I should probably give it a few dates. Literally, I've had somebody in my booty calls confirm this. Like, some of them will be like, yeah, I went on a few dates with this guy. I was like, oh, so you're fucking another guy? Like, no, we're not having sex. I was like, so why did you go on dates with him? She's like, oh, because I really like him. He might be a boyfriend worthy. I'm like, so why didn't you fuck him? You fucked me on the first night. She's like, yeah, but you're like the fuck guy. He's the boyfriend guy. I was like, oh, okay. So yeah, so that first of all hurts their chances of getting laid, and second of all, if they are just putting on the front, it's going to be incongruent more often than not, and also it's just not good. It's not good in terms of like giving women false expectations, right? So the thing, a big, I think, big misconception is some women think about me is that I'm going out and I'm playing these women. But in reality, I'm really on good terms with like pretty much every girl I fuck. I've had 4 relationships, and every single one of those 4 girls I think would say good things about me. Like I can call any one of them right now. Well, except the one who's married, but I could like we could have good conversations. Like I still have fond affection for them. So that meaning that like if you're putting on a front and you're like setting these false expectations, women are not going to be happy with you later on, and then they might, when things end, they will end badly. But if you're pretty straightforward and transparent from the start, even when things end, they'll usually end on a positive note. Like you'll be able to still be on good terms with that person, still talk to them or ask them for a favor when you need it. So I think that just having this fake boyfriend mindset is just a bad thing on all fronts. I was the same when I was younger. I hated the public bathroom too. Yeah, man, it was the worst shit ever, dude. My 12-year-old version of myself, to me, that was like fucking suicide, just like using a public bathroom. I would just hold it in. So fucking miserable. Guys typically take longer to hit their prime in life. Women hit it from 15-year-olds. So it's crazy how powerful a hot girl is at 18. Yeah, but she's only powerful in certain situations. Like for example, in Los Angeles, in an audition, she's not that powerful, right? Because it's all hot girls, and the director has all the power there. But like in most other situations, she's quite powerful. Like I've seen like like the whole sugar daddy, sugar baby thing just baffles my mind. Like some guys will literally pay women like $3,000, $4,000 a month and not even fuck them. Like they just like giving hot girls money, and I'm like, $3,000, $4,000 a month. That's like what someone makes working a full-time job. It's like what a blue-collar worker makes. Like, but you're just giving this money away to a chick for being hot. Like, you're not even fucking her. Like, to me, that's like such crazy shit. Like, it's like just because to them a hot 18-year-old is like God or something like that. So it just goes back to what you place value on. But if you go to like Colombia or Eastern Europe, the hot 18-year-old is a lot less valuable over there, right? Because there's a lot of very hot 18-year-olds, right? So they're more things is passed on status and money and stuff like that. So really also depends on where you are. Then the girl left after coming up with an excuse. I need to go check on my dog. You're not getting late tonight. I have an early morning. I should go. So I mean, again, it really depends on why she said all those things. Maybe she did have an early morning, maybe not. But I can tell you, share with you guys a story. So this was pretty epic. This was about a week ago. I was on a date with this chick. She didn't want to come straight over and met in public. All the bars were closed because everything in Miami closed at 10 o'clock. So we just got a beer and hung out on the street. And she was like super shy, blah, blah. So I had to carry the conversation. After like 20, 30 minutes, I was like, oh, let's go to the next place, right? So I wound up leading her straight to my place. We get to my door, and she's like, oh, this is your place. I was like, oh, yeah. How did that happen? And then she's like, oh, yeah, I shouldn't go inside. Right? So some guys might have just given up right there and be like, okay. I was just like, oh, how come? And she was like, yeah, I don't know. I shouldn't. I was like, oh, why? Again, I'm not like pressuring her. I'm just legitimately curious. She's like, well, I have to be up early tomorrow. And I was prepared. So I was going to say, oh, how early do you have to be up? She's like, 4 a.m. I was like, oh, shit. She's got me there because I was going to say, like, oh, I have to be up earlier. But there's no way I can, like, convince her that I have to be up at 3:30. So I was like, oh, shit, that is early. I'm like, listen, just come inside. We'll have a drink for like 15, 20 minutes. Well, just one drink. She's like, okay, as long as I don't stay too long. And then she's like, should I? And then I was like, yeah. And then we had like a 30 seconds of silence where just like, like the ball was in her court. I didn't want to like trying to convince her. I just want her to like make the decision on her own. And then she's like, okay, real quick drink. And then we wound up hooking up, right? So that's like a way of like, oh, okay. So a little bit more to the story. So then we go on my balcony and we start, making out after like 5-10 minutes. And then she stops me. She's like, no, we shouldn't do this here. Or no, or something like, no, we shouldn't do this. Yeah, it was something kind of vague, like we shouldn't do this. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I just kind of let it sit there a little bit. She's like, it's too public. I was like, so I kind of understood. So her objection wasn't to hooking up. It was just like PDAs, right? Because we're on my balcony. So as soon as we got inside, she was a lot more cool with it. Like she was down to go further. So I was also interpreting and being able to deal with like these concerns and objections when they come up and trying to understand the underlying cause. So in the balcony thing, it wasn't that she was trying not to have sex. It was that she was worried about being seen by other people because it wasn't someone in public. I feel like a lot of beginners could have interpreted that as like, oh, she doesn't want to do anything else. But it's just she doesn't want to do anything else outside, but she's cool with doing other shit inside. If you're the guy who slept with 300 chicks, how can you not judge and have something serious with a girl who slept with 300 guys? To me, a woman's leg count is just largely irrelevant because I think I'm a pretty good option for girls, even though I've slept with quite a few chicks. I don't think it makes me better. If anything, it makes me better. I don't think it makes me worse in any way. But I think that if a chick, it's a little bit different though. There is, I don't like double standards, but there's a little bit of a double standard here. If a chick had slept with 300 guys, it's not like that it would be a deal breaker for me. It's not like I would judge her or shame her, but I would wonder why she's had sex with so many people. Because for a man to have, okay, as a man, if you have sex with a lot of women, you either, if you're not paying for it. So if you're a man, you can fuck a lot of girls and you're not famous and you're not paying for it, then you must have game. It's a skill game. You must have picked up some game. You must be smooth. You must be charming. You must be charismatic. As a woman, you can be a total fucking slob and fuck 300 guys in like, a month, right? So again, it's not like as much of a skill game for girls to fuck, a lot of guys as it is for guys to fuck a lot of girls. So I would wonder why. Like, does she have a hard time? I think that if a chick has fucked 300 guys, then maybe she has a hard time with emotional intimacy. So that's something I'd be weary of. Just try to explore that with her. I'd say, hey, listen, like, after we hook up, I'd be like, hey, well, you never had a boyfriend or something like that, or maybe she's not looking for that. Like, maybe she's told. She's like the female version of me. She literally just wants to fuck, right? So maybe it could be that. But I would try to I would maybe proceed with caution, let's just say. Like, it wouldn't be like a deal breaker for me. And I wouldn't judge her. I wouldn't think less of her, but I would wonder why she's fucked so many guys. Like, what was the motivation there? Was it like, childhood trauma? Was it fear of intimacy? Was it just a really high sex drive and she just loves variety? Like, what was it? Have you had threesomes? Yeah, I've had threesomes. I've done threesomes with 2 girls. I've had threesomes with me and my buddy and a chick. Never again. I've had foursomes. I'm personally just not that into group sex, to be honest. I have nothing against it. It's just that sexually for me, it's not that satisfying. Like, I just prefer to have sex with like just me and one chick. Just even 2 chicks. I'm not saying like if 2 hot girls show up at my door, I'm not gonna be like, whoa, guys, I don't do threesomes anymore. Like, I'd still fuck them. And like, I'm sure I'll have more threesomes at some point in my life. I just kind of know what I like. And for me, like, I'm pretty specific on what I like. I like mostly big booty, big titty Latinas, or white chicks, and who are sexually open and are fun and are feminine, like, and are passionate, probably between 5 feet and 5'5", not too tall. So I just kind of, I like to have like somewhat kinky sex, but nothing too crazy, like maybe like some choking. So I'm like, I want her to call me daddy. I want her to, beg me to come. Like, I want that shit. But I don't want to like punch her. I don't want to like fist her. I don't want to do any of that. So I kind of know what I want. And threesomes is like kind of, it's more of like a novelty thing for me than it is like sexually satisfying. But I think this is all 100% personal preference. Where are you from originally? Seems to provoke girls here in Australia. They're suspicious. I can't get anything about. They're suspicious. That's odd. I mean, I've never lived in Australia. I've never even been to Australia, but I cannot imagine the girls are getting that defensive over that one question. Where are you from? Are you from here originally? Is the way I like to phrase it. Post some screenshot examples of this. Go to the forums, post some screenshot examples, and I'll analyze. Maybe you're misinterpreting their responses. Maybe they're just being playful instead of like straight up, getting whatever turned off. The guy you had on Jonathan offers a free 30-minute session per game. Is it good? I don't want to get mad if I don't buy the product. I just don't want to get mad if I don't. I don't think he's gonna get mad at you. I mean, I mean, let's use common sense. The 30-minute session to improve game, it's mainly a sales thing. It's a marketing strategy. Like, when I used to work in solar sales, we used to do free consultations, but the goal wasn't just to sit down and chat with the customers to get them to buy the product. So that's the goal of the 30 minutes. So don't go into it expecting like to, have like a, whatever, like a paid coaching session experience. It's a free call because the point is to get you to buy, right? It's not a negative thing at all. It's just a marketing strategy. Like personally, I use a different marketing strategy. Like I just could not be bothered to like talk to a bunch of guys on the phone for free. But like he has a little bit of a different approach. So, that's kind of just take it at face value, I would say. The Natural by Richard LaRue. I've heard of this guy. He's popped up on my YouTube suggestions. Not familiar with him at all. So I only check out his content. But I've never seen any of his shit. The Game by yeah, definitely. I forgot about that one. Yeah, The Game by Neil Strauss. That's what really facilitated my journey into all of this. Definitely a classic for a reason. Now, I wouldn't read that book with the goal of improving your game. It's more of just like, I don't know, like motivation and just like more like, yeah, fuck yeah, pick up. It's not like, oh, okay, this technique. I remember after I read The Game, I went out, I was trying to do some mystery type of shit where I was like trying to like net girls, and it was like way worse than like whatever my baseline when I was 19 was at the time. So, yeah. Love the vids. Keep it up. Thanks, man. Mucho obrigado. How do you sell the back end of your business, like payments website? How did you learn to do all that? It wasn't hard. It was definitely hard. I mean, I had to learn a lot of shit business related. The back end is we use PayPal and CC Bill. We used to actually use Stripe. One of the hardest things that ever happened with playing with fire was when we started, we were with Stripe. And then 4 months in, Stripe wrote to us saying that we are, because we are considered dating related or whatever, or they put us in the high risk category, even though literally we had a perfect track record of customer service. There's no chargebacks or anything. I think during 4 months we had one chargeback, which is quite good. And so Stripe said, whatever, because of our category high risk, and they can't use us as a payment processor, and all our recurring payments had to stop. It was just a fucking nightmare. So I had to research other payment processors. But the back end is simple. We outsource the payment processing. For WordPress, we have a plugin. Like we don't try to do everything ourselves, right? We look for platforms that are compatible, that are going to fit our goals. So we don't try to do like every single thing from scratch, obviously, which I think is the right way to do it. How did I learn how to do it? I don't know. I would say research. I spent a lot of time researching it, reading various blogs, watching YouTube videos. I also have a pretty good tech guy, who I also had him do some research. Also talking to people who were already doing it. I reached out to every single person who I knew who was, on the whatever in this industry, and asked them what they use. So that's really been a huge way of learning for me. It's just like talking to other people who do what I do. Like right now we're using this a program called StreamYard to stream this, right? So I remember when I first started doing these live streams, I tried using like OBS streaming, and it just kept crashing. And then I asked, J-Mo told me like, yo, you gotta check out this thing called StreamYard. It's been working really well. But I probably would have never found out about it if I didn't ask around. So the camera lens I use, for example, again, that was recommended to me by, I think, Aaron from Evolution Daily. So a lot of stuff that I'm doing, it was just things the guys were already doing. I didn't have to relearn the wheel. Just asking people who are pretty successful at whatever thing I'm trying to learn, or what they use, like getting those recommendations. Well, I would say that's like a huge thing that I try to do all the time. I've heard from various sources that sometimes during your first kiss, it's good to be the one to pull back first. I do this, but then I have trouble in shame. I don't think into it as much. When I'm kissing girls, a lot of it is just my logical mind is shut off. It's kind of more primal at that point. What I like to do is quite often is I like to get close and make it seem like I'm going to kiss her, but then I don't kiss her. And I'll do that a few times. And the reason I like to do that is, first of all, if she's going to reject your kiss, you're going to know it without actually having to kiss her, right? So it's like she's going to reject you without actually having to get rejected. So I find that very effective for that too. It builds a lot of sexual tension. 3, it kind of teases her. So then when you do go for the kiss, she's like already very eager for it. She's like wondering like, oh, is he gonna pull back this time? Is he gonna do it? Oh fuck, he's doing it. But but sometimes really just the first makeout will go straight into sex, right? So I don't know if I'm not gonna make out with her endlessly. Like I'll probably kiss with her for a few minutes. Then my go-to is to start kissing down her neck, because just making out forever is just also a dead end, right? Because that gets boring for girls. So you make out with her for a few minutes, and at that point I'll usually start intensifying it, start off slow, then maybe rub my hands down her back, maybe scratch her back a little bit, grab her ass, get a little bit more, like get closer to her, like rub my cock against her, and then I'll probably typically start kissing down her back. Then if she's compliant, then I start kissing down her collarbone, maybe her ear, depending on how she reacts. Maybe her collarbone a little bit, brush my hand past her hair a little bit, kind of teasing her like that, see how she reacts to that. Then typically kissing down here. Then if all else is good, I'll probably then go back to the lips, then go down a little bit, and then probably going for her tits. I'll probably just take her nipple out, start sucking on it. I'll start kissing around. And then from there, typically, if at that point, I'll probably pick her up and carry her on the bed or on the couch, and then just keep escalating. So I'm not like, okay, it's been 30 seconds, I got to pull back now. Like, fuck that. And start kissing down her neck. Bros, like the video, show support to our man. Thank you kindly. Yes, please do. Do you think the type of game videos grew more due to the quarantine since we all have more to move, pick up to online? Yeah, I do. I think that, I hate to say this, but I think the quarantine has been kind of good for business, again, because most other types of game are dead. Also, I think large part because people are just like bored at home. They're just watching a lot more YouTube videos. So I think for people in my niche overall, unless you're doing live boot camps, because no one's going to fucking take a boot camp nowadays, but it's been generally speaking pretty good. I see many guys go to turn this dark path where they go to pick up only thing about leg count instead of getting to know the woman that they think it shows weakness. Yeah, I've seen that before too. I think it comes from a place of pain, so you just get hurt, so you're just like trying to avoid being hurt more. But I think part of life is just willingness to be hurt, right? Like willingness to fail. You know, like my business could fail at any time, but you know, I'm gonna do everything I can to make it successful. And it's kind of like that with pickup or relationships or anything. What do you think girls think about guys with braces? Should I have pictures of my ding pro? Depends how you wear them, but generally speaking, you know, you want to get off the braces. So I'm sure your doctor, probably told you when for like half a year or a year. But ideally, you want to get to a point where you can take them off. I don't think it's that big of a deal, but it also depends how old you are. Are you 18 or are you, 35, right? So age is going to be huge. The younger you are, the more it's going to be like, let's just say forgettable. If you're like in your 30s or like late 20s, yeah, no. But if you're like 18, then it's a different story. What do you think about AMS? What do you think about AMS? I'm not that familiar. I've heard good things about him. I know he's kind of a little bit more red pill, and some of the things that I don't think it's fair for me to make a judgment call on him simply because most of the stuff I know about him is secondhand. So people will say, well, AMS says this, right? What do you think about that? But that's not. I didn't personally hear it from him. It's other people say that, so maybe they misinterpret his content. So I can't critique him on secondhand stuff. So in order for me to be fair, I'd have to actually review his content. But some of the secondhand stuff I heard, I definitely disagreed with. I thought it was just like nonsense. I'm trying to remember specific examples. There's a lot of shit in the forums. But yeah, I would definitely review his stuff. I'd love to actually, even better, love to have him on for a live stream. Just talk to him in real life and just pick his brain. And just then have a friendly debate. But yeah, so. I've reached out to him. He hasn't responded. So again, if you guys are fans of him, definitely hit him up right in his comments. He should pop on Playing with Fire. I'd love to have him on for a live stream. I think it'd be a good experience for my fans and his fans. I still get crushed inside when during day game. A girl tries to avoid me after opening her. I know it's sexual, all the reasons. Well, I think that's normal. I think that no one likes to be rejected, man. Like, I think that you're probably still, I don't know if you're new to game, but you haven't been fully desensitized yet, but you don't want to get to a point where you just feel nothing, because then you just, kind of become like, whatever, what's the term, Mike Michaeli, I forget the term, but where you just like don't feel, where you just don't feel shit anymore, right? You don't want to get to that point. I don't think you should feel crushed, but yeah, I think it's good to logically reframe it. And just kind of go from there. I think that's why it's also important. I don't think it's healthy to just constantly have to fail and fail and fail. That's why it's important to see intermittent successes. So success could be just getting a phone number. Success could be getting a date, getting laid. But I think that if you're just going out and you're just getting rejected, then something is off, and we have to reevaluate your strategy. Like I know people who cold approach purists who will go out for like a year and they have zero success. They don't get laid once. And I'm like, the fuck are you doing? You just wasted, you're going out 2 hours every day. You literally just wasted, fucking a month worth of time just doing something you had zero success in. Like, you have to at a certain point reevaluate your approach. So again, I think it just comes down to why you're getting rejected, how often is it happening. If you are having some success, I think it's important to fall back on that. You can just, like, yeah, if you get say you go out and you got lead the night before from cold approach and the chick was really hot and it was awesome, and then you're doing day game today and you get rejected, blah blah. I think it's a good reframe. Just think back on that, like, hey, listen, like this led to me having a night of epic sex. This was totally worth it, and whatever. Like, I'm just gonna fucking shake it off like a pebble. Yeah. Another thing I would say is also start almost getting off on doing things that are outside of your comfort zone. So say you're like at a Starbucks, right? Hot chick is to the side. And there's some social pressure because it's the Starbucks you go to, blah, 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 blah. And you have those butterflies in your stomach. It's not going to be a super easy approach. Those are the approaches you should do, because even if the chick rejects you, you're going to feel happy because you pushed yourself, right? So I think that's another thing. It's just like start valuing more the fact that you're taking action rather than the results. It sounds something like this is kind of an RSD concept. It's kind of one I agree with to an extent. Like, I think that you should want the results, but you should also like enjoy the feeling of taking action. You know what I mean? Like the fact that you're pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. How would you go about inviting her straight over to my place from cold approach instead of going on a public date? Same exact way I would do it with online game. So I just recently put out a video about a month ago. It's called How to Text Cold Approach Numbers, and every single one of those was a straight to the house date. So I have 3 examples in there. So just check it out. I think it'll definitely answer the question better. What do you say to someone who knows all the stuff on an intellectual level and trying to apply it in the moment so you can just move on and not feel demoralized? Let me think about how to answer this question. So, what do you say to someone who knows all the stuff on an intellectual level and trying to apply it in the moment so you can just move on and not feel demoralized? There's a book called Grit. I think it's an interesting book. It talks about like one of the biggest markers of success is this thing called grit, your ability to just withstand like negativity and turmoil. So check out that book. But basically, you have to like develop this grit in yourself where you just like, something you don't like happens and you're willing to push through it, right? Like, I can tell you firsthand that when I was starting this YouTube channel, like it was kind of demoralizing because a lot of these videos, like, back when I had like 200 subscribers, like I would put out all this content and it would get like no views, and it was kind of demoralizing for a bit, but I was like, I have to push through this. I remember I was big on Reddit, and then the fucking Reddit moderators, so I started building up a reputation on Reddit, and Reddit moderators, the little butthurt pussies, they just banned me for no reason, right? And so like I had built up this reputation that was like also really demoralizing. So I was like, you know what, I have to fucking like make my forums as big as Reddit is, so that I never need to rely on them. So just have this grit. So like if chick rejects you, just fucking take it as like fuel, like whatever. I'm gonna get the next one. Fuck her. I'm gonna show it to this one by getting the next one, right? So that type of thing. You have to like be able to just use it as fuel, like fuel to push your fire. Like for me, honestly, my game will be if I have a date at 9 o'clock, if I go out at 8 o'clock and get rejected a few times, I think my games actually might be better on my date because I'm gonna have this like fucking fire. I'll be like, fuck, I'm gonna fuck this chick just to prove it to these chicks that rejected me. Again, a little too much of that can be a bad thing for sure, but a little bit of that I think can be fuel in the fire. I hope that helps, man. Let me know if like you need a little bit more clarification on that. How do you reopen a girl who you met or made a connection with at one point and was interested in but never ended up doing anything with, where it's like neutral, like met and got number match? Just standard re-engagement. I would say ideally something contextual, something like how's blah blah blah. Like if she told you, for example, she has a cat who acts like a dog, right? So then you might use this as a how's the doggy doing, right? So it's like it's a very lame example, just something like contextual. That might be just like our standard re-engage. You could send her a funny meme. So that's really one of the big advantages of holidays: July 4th, Christmas, Thanksgiving, Halloween. These are all chances to re-engage chicks who have been dead for a while with random memes. And it's just like, it kind of comes across nice because it's like, oh, he was thinking of me, and the conversation gets going again. But you can just honestly send it's not going to be probably as effective, but you can just send the Ryan Gosling meme just randomly. But I would say the contextual stuff would probably be a little bit better. Question: best way for a 40-plus-year-old to pull 1821 on Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge? Get jacked, or actually not so much even that. Have this like daddy dominant vibe. So you want to. So most of the let's be real. Most of the 18 to 21-year-olds where you're gonna fuck as a 40-year-old as a 40-year-old guy, or chicks who want it like a daddy type of thing, like a daddy type of fantasy. Like they just want this older 50 Shades of Grey type of guy. So basically, you have to play that role. So basically, just think, how can I like portray myself as Christian Grey? Like, how can I look as this dominant, successful, older, experienced man? That's kind of the role that you want to play. The other thing you can do is just lie about your age. So instead of 40, you could say you're whatever, 33, right? So you just extend your range. As long as it's believable. I would say those are the two big things. Really trying to pick your brain. Thanks for sharing everything enough about Gross 1/6 regular Malamute or a Husky. You think it's good? People always ask me that. He's a full Siberian Husky. So I don't know. People think he's a Malamute because he's kind of fluffy, but not. He's full Husky. You think no? Regular honestly is fucking enough work. He's a great dog, but Siberian Huskies are a lot of work. So no, I don't think I'll ever get another dog because I can have a hard time keeping up with Rhaegar. Okay, I've never even had a conversation in real life with a woman. Well, you got to change that, man. But I managed to arrange one to come over in a couple of days. How do I prepare for this? Go out and talk to women, honestly. Just go out. You have to, because if you don't do that, you're going to build this whole thing up in your mind. You're going to be nervous. You're going to be shaky. The best thing you can do in the next few days is talk to a lot of women. Go out and try to pick up other chicks. That's literally going to be the best thing you can do for yourself. Have you ever had? Nowadays, no, not really. But back in the day, a lot of it for sure. Like I used to have a lot of anxiety. I'll be like, oh shit, what if she doesn't like my body? What if this? What if that? Nowadays, no, it goes away after a while. At least for me, it did. Like just hooking up with a lot of girls. What's up, Mr. F5? So make sure you guys check it out. I was on his panel yesterday. It was a very interesting interview. We talked about one night stand and hookups, and we had it was a very interesting discussion. Even a few chicks joined it. So check out his channel. It's going to be the latest video. Whenever I type your name to YouTube, it's very hard to find your videos unless you put Tinder in because there's some movie. I know, fucking kills me. So when the movie thing is fairly new, the Playing with Fire movie came out like 2019. Like Playing with Fire was already around by then. I remember when it was coming out, a bunch of people told me like, yo, they're making a movie about you. And I was debating whether it's going to be a good thing for me or a bad thing. It turned out to be a bad thing because it fucked me up in SEO. So if you search Playing with Fire, I won't rank, right? You have to search Playing with Fire Alex, Playing with Fire Tinder, Playing with Fire, whatever, text gig. But I'm hoping that once I keep bumping up my SEO and just keep growing the channel, this is going to change. Like if I get my channel to 1 million subscribers, if you search Playing with Fire, I will come up, in the first. So I just got to basically outrank this movie. It's hard because it's a major motion picture, marketing and all the shit. So I just need to basically outrank them in terms of the algorithm. I was searching your name, a specific video, it never comes up. Yeah, just just subscribe to the channel and then you can just see all the videos I did. Do you ever have a playlist of your content that guys should start? If not, are you playing? Yeah, so check out, we have several playlists. So we have text game series, and then we have also the I forget about one. Getting started on Tinder or something like that. So we have playlists on YouTube. Also, if you go to playingfire.com and you hit tips and guides under beginner, literally we have Tinder 101 start here, and it just walks you through. It's really well organized. Everything you need to know just to get started from start to finish. So check that out. Also check out the playlist that we have. My room is completely empty. I really only have a bed. Should I just stay in my living room where I have TV? Dude, this stuff is so relevant. It doesn't really matter. Just have a nightstand, something she can put a bottle of wine on. It's really just it's only going to be a big deal if you think it's a big deal. Also, I never turn on the TV when chicks are over. I never ever do that because I don't want to be distracted. I don't want her to look at the TV. What I do is I just play music in the background. So chick comes in, offer her a glass of wine. And then, so really all you need is a laptop or whatever. iPhone or something like that, and some wine, really, and just a glass, right? So pour her wine, play some music. That's all I need. That's all, really anyone needs. How do you open a girl who you matched with or met at one point and was interested but never ended up doing anything with, where nothing really happened but the interest was there at start? How do you reopen a girl who you matched with or met at one point? Was there same exact feedback I gave someone earlier. So something contextual, ideally. You don't get a crazy reopener. Keep it simple, like you get. Like say, for example, say you guys met at Starbucks, right? Like she was drinking coffee. Say she was drinking a whatever green tea frappuccino, something like that, green tea latte. And you guys kind of talked about it. It's like a little joke, so you can reference something like that. You'd say, drink any good green tea lattes lately, or send her, ideally even better would be a picture of a green tea latte like you're holding and be like, thought of you, or something like that. Like, something, this is just one very specific example, but something that's contextual would be the best. Guys, give me 1 minute. I'm gonna turn the AC up. It's getting fucking hot in here. How do you reopen? Okay, so we covered this question. Have you applied everything you learned to get with a girl you weren't able to before? How do you do this? Yeah, sort of. I have a few stories like that. Like there was one chick I remember when I moved to LA. Like one of my very first, like literally like when I was 23, downloaded Tinder, and this chick was like very much my type at the time. Big titty Latina. And I was like, at the time, I was a little intimidated by her because she was like very sassy. She was also an ex-soldier. So I don't know. For me at that point, I thought it was like a little bit like intimidating. Like now I don't give a rat's ass. But we went on 2 dates, and she was into me, but I was just very clumsy with my escalating. And I remember that I think 3 dates, and the third day I was trying to escalate. And I could have so banged her if I knew half the shit I knew now, but I just didn't. And then later on, after she left, she sent me a text like, "Hey, I started seeing someone else, blah, blah, blah." And then I just let it go. And then like 4 or 5 years later, it was like after my time was like 26, 27, where like my game was like pretty much at a solid point. I remember like somehow she popped up on my Facebook recommended whatever thing. So I added her as a friend. And then literally like at that point also, so between the age of 23 and 27, I put on a lot of muscle. That's when I like 23, 24 is when I got into working out. So I remember I was like, I literally just wanted feedback on different shirtless selfies, and I was just hitting up everybody. So I was like, "Hey, can I get your opinion on something random?" She's like, "Oh, hey, yeah, sure." And I just sent her a bunch of shirtless pictures of myself, and I was like, "Hey, which one of these do you think is better?" She's like, "Why are you asking?" I'm like, "I don't know, I just need a girl's opinion." She's like, "Okay, this one, I guess." I was like, "Thanks." She's like, "You're looking pretty good." I'm like, "Thank you." And then it just kind of went from there. And then I did wind up getting another date with her, but this time like my game was so much better. I just banged her the first time. And like I remember after that, she was actually like, super into me. And I don't know, it felt very rewarding that like I couldn't get this chick when I was 22, 23. I got her when I was 26. So I've had a few of those types of stories, but nothing like super crazy. I mean, I really would love to see some of the girls I went to high school with, like the chicks who I had a crush on but rejected me, and like just get them now. But just haven't. I don't live in my hometown anymore. Like I live in Miami. I grew up in Jersey. So, but if I ever do get the opportunity, like for some reason I didn't get an invite to my high school reunion, but the 20-year reunion, I want to go to that and just like fucking like swoop up the next prom queen or something like that. Also, what happened to your nose? When I was 16, me and my cousin were running around, and basically, long story short, I wound up hitting it against a steel bench and completely broke. And I got an operation on it a few weeks later. But this is what it looks like with the operation, so you can see imagine how fucked up it was before the operation. And I could probably get it fixed and get another operation, but I don't give a shit. Like I have no desire to do that. What are your top 3 wine? Dude, I'm honestly not the best person to ask this. Like I'm not that knowledgeable in wine, and I think a lot of this just comes down to personal taste. Personally, I like to drink Rieslings, Pinot Grigio. I would say those are like 2 of my favorite type of wines. But in terms of brands and stuff like that, I don't know. Like there's some good California wines, but there's good wines from everywhere. There's some good wines from South America, some really good New Zealand wines. But generally speaking, like I would say, in America, I generally go for California just because it's closer, and I feel like we're probably not getting the best New Zealand wine here. If I was in New Zealand, I would be going for New Zealand wines. If I was in Europe, I would be going for European wines. If I was in South America, I'd be going. So I stay regional, but I'm so far from being like experienced in wine. Like this is a much better question to ask my mom or my dad. Like they would be able to give you a much better answer. How much do physical looks matter as compared to good Tinder pictures? Well, you're gonna have a hard time getting good pictures if you're ugly, right? So they're both very much related. Now you can have really good looks and have shitty pictures, so that's not good. But you can't get really good pictures and be ugly, right? Because then you're not going to look at the pictures. So I think they're both important. So if you, like for the guys who bought my product, that big thing I talk about in there is maximizing yourself on all fronts. So I have a chapter dedicated to maximizing your sexual market value, which I think, there's some short-term things you can do, like getting your facial hair on point, getting like a sharp haircut, good fashion. But there's also some long-term things like getting to single digits body fat, putting on muscle, like stuff like that, right? So I recommend both short and long-term things to boost up your sexual market value, and then capturing the best possible picture. So if you're like a 6, you can look like a 7.5 in your pictures, but there's no way you can look like a 9 unless you're straight up catfishing these girls. So you can exaggerate, so you can push, like if you're a 7, say you're a 5 right now, right? You're never going to become a 10 looks-wise. But you can probably become a 7. And with the right kind of pictures, you can get yourself to look like an 8 or an 8.5. There's a big fucking difference between looking like a 5 and looking like an 8.5. What most guys do is the opposite. Maybe they're a 7, but with their pictures, in the pictures they look like a 6. So they're going the opposite direction, right? So again, it's just more about like, and again, your results at looking like an 8.5 are going to be radically different than your results looking like a 5. All right, 2, 3 fire emojis. Hell yeah. Insta dates are really good for same-day lays. Yeah, agree to disagree. I mean, yeah, they're good for same-day lays for sure. I just generally speaking think they're overrated. I think guys focus on them too many times. I've seen so many examples of guys who go on it. I think about it this way. An Insta date, what, takes 45 minutes, an hour? What if, and if you don't get the same-day lay, it's just basically an end-day number, right? Say that number is twice as solid, right? Like, I don't think it is at all. But say that, okay. Say that you have, generally speaking, a 25% success rate with cold approach numbers, meaning 25% of the numbers you get, they go on a date with you, right? Something like that, which is actually in all likelihood going to be a lot lower. Let's say it's 25%. Now, say with same day, or whatever, say Insta date numbers, it's 50%. Again, it's not going to be twice. But let's do an extreme example. Say it is Insta date takes an hour. Now, so you could have one number that has a 50% chance of going out with you instead of a 25% chance, or you could have 4 or 5 numbers during that same time period will all have 25% chance of going out with you, right? The second one is going to give you more results. So for that reason, I just think that all Insta dates are just kind of overrated. Also think a lot of girls, logistically speaking, they're not able to go on Insta date. Like they're doing something. I think guys sometimes fail. Like they think, oh, I couldn't get the Insta date, and they don't even get the number, right? Like, because they get defeated. So I think also it takes a lot of awareness. Now, if this chick is a tourist and you sense that she has nothing going on that day, and you pick up that she's a little horny, that's a different story. But you have to be able to kind of discern. When they ask, are you from here originally, she just responds with no. I would probably playfully call out the fact that she's being so vague. I might actually say so vague, or so mysterious. That might be better. I would just say so mysterious, probably something like that. How do you choose which girl to sleep with when you have so many girls blowing up? Well, I wouldn't say I have like. I mean, I do really well with women, but I wouldn't say I have so many. I'm not like famous or something like that. I'm not Dan Bilzerian. I don't have like so many girls. It's not like, let's check. Since I started this video, I had what? I had one chick. So since the start of this video, I had one chick text me. It was a girl who I'm blocking. So it's like, yeah, I do have a lot of chicks texting me. I do have a lot of options. I wouldn't say I'm like fucking like, like, 20 girls a night or something like that. So how do I choose? It really comes down to attractiveness and how much I like her personality, right? So it also depends what I'm looking for that night. Say I've had a bad day and, I'm just kind of tired and whatever, then at that point I'll be much more inclined to hang out with my booty call, even if I could get a date with a new girl who's a little bit more attractive. But say, like whatever, I'm really motivated, I just want to get laid. At that point, I'll probably pick value, physical attractiveness a little bit more. I always make time for my booty calls, the chicks that I really like and I hang out with. I always make time for them. So it just comes down to what I'm looking for. How pick spoiled my professional photo shoots and had 7 girls text me that I flaked, 5 more DM to me up. That's awesome, man. Sounds like it was a really good picture. How often do I post these professional pics on my IG? Well, as long as the pics don't look so. Say you did a professional photo shoot and you have 10 pictures of you like almost the same post. You don't want to keep posting those back to back. But as long as the pictures are somewhat different, like you have some variety on your, on your Instagram, feel free to post them pretty often, fucking 4 or 5 times a week. Like if you can post a new story every day, that's also going to be good. Like if you look at like some of the the big influencers, they're posting multiple stories a day, right? And they have like 2 or 3 posts a day. So I don't think there's like, as long as there's variety, you can post like every day if you want. In frat, by the way, it's really sick. Are you talking about like being a fraternity? Yeah, college for sure. It's a big game changer. Posting a pic on my date to IG cements the day. Posting a pic on date to IG cements the date. I'm not really sure what you mean. Why don't you guys get on PW at Facebook? It's good, but the guys sometimes troll too much. Because I simply we made a decision to. Are you talking about the mastermind group? No one's trolling in the mastermind, but you're talking about probably the free Facebook group. We're just not active on there. I spend most of my time on the YouTube and on the forums, right? That's where because that's my platform. That's where I'm the most active. Like I literally only use the free Playing with Fire Facebook group, which is promoting my videos and my content. That's really only it. So yeah, much better place to reach me is the forums. I try to be fairly active in the YouTube comments, and Instagram is more or less, but probably the number one place. Well, number one would be the mastermind group, right? The mastermind group and the forums, because in the forum section has a members only mastermind area and the app. That's where I'm going to be by far the most active. That's number one. Number 2 is going to be the free version of the forums. Number 3 is going to be, I would say YouTube and Instagram, something like that. But Facebook is going to be very fucking bottom of that list. Hey, Alex, I was curious on how you approach someone on Snapchat. You saw they post a picture, a story or something, and you want to hit them up. How would you approach without being weird? I don't use Snapchat. I think it's largely a waste of time, but I would say make an observation. So like make an amusing observation. Okay, so I'll give you guys an example. So this chick on Instagram posted this picture. It was like a sexy picture of her, like whatever, just with her tits out and shit. And she said, it was something like, if you've ever gotten hard from one of my pictures, you owe me $5. And then I commented on it. I said, what if you got half a chub, right? And then she wound up actually DMing me later on that day, like, hey, how have you been, right? So it was like something like that, something kind of comic, something kind of funny, that's amusing, that's not like mean or like whatever. You're not. It's like something amusing. It's not something that you're just trying to provoke her, obviously. What's your dating group page on Facebook? It's Playing with Fire, but again, honestly, that's literally the worst place to follow me or reach me. So we have the mastermind group, but you're not gonna be able to find it. Like the only way you can get into that is if you buy the product and we invite you manually. But much better place to go to forums.playingfire.com or Instagram. It's @realplayingfire. So I would say those two are much better resources. Are there any methods guys in volunteer SMB can use besides good old self-improvement? Yes, but you can only go so far with that. So what kind of was I was getting at earlier, if you're 5, you're not gonna be able to look like a 9 without straight up catfishing. Now, if you're on the shorter side, you obviously want to, generally speaking, you want to shoot from downwards angles because that makes you look taller. You can do a lot with lighting. Having just the right kind of lighting can make your look at my face, right? Like I have like some pimples and shit. Like it's not bad, right? So with the right kind of lighting, you can't see any of that. with a bad kind of lighting, like if I was to take the light and shine directly at that, it would kind of look like I actually have somewhat of a pimply face, right? So you can kind of do a lot with that with lighting. But again, we're talking about a point and a half. We're not, there's nothing like that's going to be drastic. A girl flaked on me tonight. Said, "Damn, how are you going to make this up to me?" She said, "I'll literally do anything to not make you hate me." I would probably say anything with a with like an emoji, like that emoji where the guy's like winking. Anything question mark with that emoji, and then or I might say like I'm gonna hold you to it with a winky face, right? Like you don't want to be super explicit. You just kind of want to like suggest, like use this as an easy excuse to sexualize it. Yeah, so I answered this question already. Where can us common folk get kratom? I do anywhere online. So two companies I use is sabaikratom.com. They're pretty good, and botanicalbunny.com. They're also really good. They're a little cheaper, but yeah, I'd say either one of those is high quality. I've tried a lot of different companies, so I'm a pretty good judge in terms of quality. Those two are very solid. What do you think? Ooh, that's a good question. What do I think about his situation? I Okay, I'm gonna preface this by saying I don't know the full story. I don't. I've tried to get in touch with him since this whole thing happened. He's just not responsive on WhatsApp. I don't know why. I've talked to the guy he lives with, Justin Mark, and he gave me a very short version of the story. So basically, again, I'm just going off what I heard. So apparently, Daily Mail wrote an article on Bradicus, which was negative, saying that he's basically like a sex tourist in the whatever fucking in Mexico, trying to like just bang local girls because girls are easier, right? So obviously it was like a slander hit piece. So I wouldn't really take anything that Daily Mail says as like hardcore facts. So then what I think happened after that is YouTube deleted Bradicus's channel, and then Instagram and Facebook also deleted him, right? So he got hit on all social media. And also, I know a lot of feminists in Mexico. There's just like a lot of some locals wrote to the politicians trying to get him kicked out. But as far as I know, there's never like any official, like he never actually got kicked out of Mexico. It's just like some locals were trying to get him to like, get his visa revoked. Now, what do I think about that? I think that, again, I don't know the full story, so everything I'm saying is just I'm kind of going off limited information. But I'm not a fan of censoring. Whether you agree with someone or not, say you completely disagree with Pickup or with Bradicus specifically, the right decision, the right way to go about this is not to censor them, to get them kicked off YouTube. It's to engage with them in a meaningful discussion, right? So I see this as a huge issue nowadays where people just want to silence each other. Like they don't want to have meaningful debates. Like I see this like, so much like, again, not to get into politics, but you see this so much with like hardcore liberals, right? And I would probably consider myself more liberal than conservative, if anything, at least on social issues. But they do this. I cannot fucking relate to this. Like hardcore liberals, they want to just shut down whatever, like Ben Shapiro and like those guys. Like why? Just engage in a debate with them. Like if you disagree with them, that's fine. You're entitled to your opinion. You can have a meaningful debate. I see this such a thing. Like people don't want to have debates anymore. They don't want to discuss. They feel too easily triggered, and they just want to shut these people up. And I think censoring and that kind of stuff is the worst way to approach all that shit, because what you're doing is you're silencing someone's right to express themselves and their speech, and then you're just basically building resentment. Then that other side thinks you're the problem, then this side thinks you're the problem. It just escalates back and forth. Versus if you were just able to have that's why I'm such a huge fan of Joe Rogan podcast. Like not all his episodes, but sometimes he has guests he disagrees on, and they have like real debates. They don't scream at each other. They don't try to silence each other. They just talk about what they think, which is usually if you can do that and you keep emotions out of it, you can probably find some common ground. So I don't think Bradicus was doing anything extreme. I can see why some Mexican locals might think, well, this guy's coming to it's like hits their pride a little bit. This guy's coming to our country because women here are easier. Like like fuck this guy, like blah blah blah. He's disrespectful to our culture. Okay, that's your opinion. But again, like shutting him down, getting his channel removed is not the right way to approach that. So I'm hardcore against any type of censoring, like just basically like trying to silence people. Like that's just fucked up on so many different levels. Hopefully, I wish all the best for the guy. I mean, I've done a podcast with him. He seems like a cool guy. Like I hope, and it sucks because I'm sure he put in a lot of hard work into the channel. And again, if you disagree with a specific piece of content he did, then call him out on it, right? You're entitled to make your own video where you can point out how much of a dummy he is and all that stuff. But don't try to silence him. Like, that's just not right the way to approach this. You know what I mean? Like, he's just expressing his opinion, and that's what it is. But I don't think he was doing anything extreme either. Like, I haven't watched all his videos, so I can't comment, but I don't think he was doing anything that was really that far, that extreme by any means. Like, not at all. So it's a fucked up situation. How important are pics and Insta? Also, when's that InstaVid coming out? Pics are very, very, very important for Insta, and the InstaVid coming out a few more months. It's gonna be a few more months because I'm having good success with it, but I really need to master Instagram game before I start like teaching it. All right, guys, I'm starting to lose my voice, and we have a lot of questions. So what I'm thinking we should do is let's do this. I'm gonna. Let's do this. So let's call. I'm gonna go through a few more questions and then we'll call it there. We've gone for 2 hours straight. I'll do another one of these during the week. So next Sunday I'm probably gonna have a guest on. I'll do another one of these during the week where so you guys, for anyone who didn't get their questions answered, I'll just run through that because we've gone for a while and just my voice is starting to crack out. So let me do 1 or 2 more questions and then we'll do another one of these during the week and then this way you guys can get your questions answered. If you haven't had sex, do you just tell her? Definitely, do not tell her. Do not tell her you're a virgin. That's gonna fuck it up. She might be hesitant to fuck you. Yeah, don't do that. All right, getting my testosterone. Notice I have low beta. How low does that from when can you run to TRT and where you got your source and info? Yeah, all right, I think it's a good question to end it off. So, I got my. Where did I learn? Well, I learned about TRT from a lot of places. There's so many, whatever places where you can learn about TRT. Where I got my source was what was it? That guy who I had on earlier. The guy who I had on a few months ago, Michael, from the name of this company is Medical Health Institute, I believe. Check out the video I did, men's health expert, whatever. And he links all this stuff. Him. I got it from him. Info, I do 160 milligrams once a week. So I break that up into 2 doses. So I do once every 3 days, something like 0.4 and a half mLs every 3 days. I think it helps for sure. I don't think it's like, for some guys it is a miracle cure. I do know that. For me, it was just like a general improvement. It wasn't like a total fucking game changer. It was just like overall, it was definitely something I'm happy with. And I don't think I'll ever stop taking it because I've just seen the benefits. But I don't think it wasn't like something that was just like a total game changer for me. It just helped overall. But I know personally people for whom it was a game changer. Like Indian P just recently started TRT. And he like fucking loves it. He's like, dude, I feel so like in his Indian accent, like, dude, I feel so motivated to work out now. I was like lazy before, but now I am like going to the gym, like being good. I am working so hard. So, for him, it was like a big game changer and he's like super happy with it. And he's also like telling me how like he has a higher sex drive now and all that shit. I think it just really depends on the person and how low your baseline is. Like his baseline was really low. Like his baseline was like, I think his total testosterone was like 250 or 300, something like that. So, for him, it was just like a huge change. I'm going to end off on this question because it's an interesting one. Do you consider yourself like a high value person or just pretending to be one? I consider myself like a high value person, but I consider myself a high value person that has a lot of still more room to grow. So if I'm in the same place a year from now, I'm not going to be happy. But this is why I consider myself, so I can logically back it up. I understand social dynamics and emotions and like just what people are feeling, what people are motivated by, just the dynamic, I think better than 99% of the people. So I think that gives me value in social situations. I'm honest, I'm loyal, I don't bullshit, I can explain things in a very interesting and straightforward way. I'm very motivated. I work hard. I'm great in bed. Like there's all these like logical reasons I can give myself for justifying the fact that I'm high value. So it's not like I'm deluding myself. You know, I genuinely do believe I'm high value, but I think that I could always be higher value. So it's not like I'm like I've reached the pinnacle of success. It's so far from it. Like literally, like I find it funny that a lot of like guys in the pickup community, like coaches, they think that they're like master of the world. Like, dude, like you're just getting fucking started. Dude, the best pickup artist, the best PUA coach, whatever you think is the best guy in terms of pickup, there's still like, you know, there's different levels of this shit. There's still like fucking level B or something like that. Like, you know, level A, Dan Bilzerian, like fucking Leonardo DiCaprio, Jamie Foxx, right? You know, he's known for having, or Drake, right? He has crazy parties, fucking ships girls on buses, fucking the hottest girls. Like that's true fucking level A, right? If you're the best pickup artist, you're so good now approaching girls. You're not fucking perfect 10 models. Like you're like still like level B, so or level D or whatever. So there's so many different levels. And again, so just I consider myself high value. I don't like get nervous when I interact with people who are higher value, but it's like I try to be inspired by them, like just try to like grow. I mean, occasionally I do get tongue tied sometimes. Like I remember I met Mel Gibson at a party like 4 years ago. And, like I was a little nervous. Like I remember that. It's not like nowadays I never get nervous talking to dudes. I remember like it was like Mel Gibson. It was like a big deal. I was like, hey man, like, and we wound up talking about solar panels for like 5 minutes. It was weird. But so just like, of course, there's situations like that. And again, why did that happen? Well, probably subconsciously, I think he's higher value than me on some level. But again, it's like, I don't know, you just keep working at it. As long as you're growing, you can keep like pushing yourself and just giving yourself these logical reasons why, you know, why you're the shit, right? But it's kind of hard to convince yourself you're the shit when you're living in your mom's basement, you've had the same dead-end job for 5 years, you're not getting laid, your friends don't respect you. Like, it's really hard to then convince yourself that you're the shit. So part of it is internal, but a big part of it is also external, giving yourself these logical reasons. All right, guys, I'm sorry we couldn't get through all the questions. I did want to go. Let me see how many are left. We got so fucking many. Oh, yeah. Actually, we got through like 75% of the questions. Maybe I can answer one more. All right, we'll do this one. I'll do two more. Speaking of RSD, Tyler, being awkward, thanks for showing us we can be normal people. I feel way more grounded with the new nonsense you've taught us and the ones you've told us to scrap. Awesome. Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's like always been my goal in this channel, to give you guys straightforward, like practical, no bullshit advice. Like something that like I think it's unfortunate because there's so many misconceptions in pickup. Like, and I fell for that also. If you guys want to get more info on that, read my article that I wrote, my review of RSD. But in that article, I might make a video version of that, but I really get into my background with game and how I used to really follow RSD and how that helped me and how that made me worse. I think there's like, yeah, like often like, like the guys who are like too into pickup when they go to a bar or club, they're standing out. They're not like, it doesn't look like they're part of the scene. Like that's not what you want to be. Like, you want to be the, doing your little approaches and like, you just want to like fucking be the weirdo at the bar. So, a big part of this is just being a solid guy who goes for what he wants, believes in himself, and understands game and just human interactions, right? It's really a huge component of this, right? What are your thoughts on having plastic surgery on the face? I'm not a fan, unless you have some extreme defect. I really don't like that shit. First of all, plastic surgery. Like I mentioned earlier, I had my nose done, and it's not pleasant. Like I would never do that again. I had about a year of breathing problems after that. Like they don't tell you that when you go into it, but my nose would get really dry all the time. And even though that sounds like it's not a big deal, like that feeling when you have a cold and you can't breathe properly. Imagine having that for a year straight. It fucking is annoying, especially when you're 16 and you're trying to play sports and you just can't breathe properly. So there's a lot, like it's not like super easy. It's not like something like let's just say like doing PRP for your hair or something like that. It's like it's fucking intensive. Surgery. Secondly, I don't think it's necessary. Like I think that you could, just by going to the gym, working out, you can kind of, get into low digits body fat, eating healthy. You can do a pretty good amount. Like I'm not a big component of like plastic surgery as a man. Let me see if there's like one more question. Okay, let me answer this one. Why do you go from LA to Miami? How can you afford that posh place? I didn't go straight from LA to Miami. So I lived in, I don't know if you've been following PWF from the start, you know this, but I lived in PWF. I mean, this was how fucking tired I am. I lived in Texas for 5 months before moving to Miami. So my initial goal was I just wanted to get out of LA. I lived there for 6 years. I wanted to go somewhere more like, I don't know, like local, like where it's like more chill. So I moved to Austin, Texas. I lived there 5 months and I got kind of tired of it. And I was like, you know what, Miami's only 24-hour drive away. Let me check it out. Like I didn't want to go back to LA with my tail between my legs. It's not like I'm in love with Miami, but I do, you know, whatever. It's just where I stay. You know, I made my home. I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna stay here forever, but for now, how do you afford that posh place? I'd say my place is that posh. It's definitely nice. I mean, again, I work hard for playing with fire. Like this is my primary business, and I work hard towards it. Like that's why I spend hours answering questions, doing these videos. There's a lot of back end stuff that goes into this. So this is like my full time business. I'm always like on the clock. Like, yeah, obviously I can put my phone down and do shit, but like right after I get off this, I'm not gonna just call it a night, right? Like I'm just gonna go through all my company group chat, make sure, you know, there's no outstanding issues. We have a video that's being released tomorrow, so like plan that. So, you know, I work hard, you know, I would say that's the best way to explain it. How do you afford, you know, I have a service and product that gives people value, and I work hard to make that the case and market it and make it the best it could be. So we answer, yeah. So how do you think about Justin's situation on transplant? Yeah, so I think it's very unfortunate, you know, that they got their, you know, they got all this hate, that they got their, you know, channel deleted. Again, I think journalism has become most journalistic outlets have become such shitholes. Like, yeah, there's no more like, you know, fair and objective. It's just like all hit pieces. I can speak from experience. Like, I don't know if you guys know this. I'm sure some of you do, but Vice did a hit piece on me, and it was total trash journalism. Like, you know, it's not like they were interested in like really getting to the bottom of this. And it's not like I'm perfect. I'm sure there are things that you can legitimately criticize me for, but their whole thing was just like hardcore exact. They basically made it sound like playing with fire was revenge porn, and playing with fire is so far from that. Like how do you look at playing with fire and think this is just some revenge porn type of shit? Like clearly it's not that. Like, you know, so it's just like they kind of made it seem like it was almost like that's what we were doing. It was a bunch of guys, just horny guys who are hurt. We're just sharing pictures of girls and putting them down. Like, no, that's not what it's about. We're trying to like improve our success with women and be better people. Like you can say there's a dark side of pickup and all that, but like you can't say that we're fucking playing with fire's revenge porn. So I've just seen that firsthand. And I know how like unfair these journalists can be. And I don't know. I think that it would be good to have like actually I want to have Justin on maybe next week, and I'll have him explain the situation firsthand and give his opinion. So I think it's important for people to be able to get their story out. So yeah, I'm gonna try to have Justin on as long as he's cool with it next weekend, next Sunday, and we'll explore this in more detail. Alex, the one girl you hooked up with, that was real low investment, even though your post sex, she was still low invested. It was a sex man, you guys didn't connect. Actually, the sex was quite good. I actually very much enjoyed it. I think she did too. She was like moaning and shit. Sex was really good. We did not really connect. We're still talking. I'll actually probably see her again. We're still talking. She just had she had to move and she had a lot of stuff going on. I think that's probably part of it. But yeah, there's really no connection. We're just too different, honestly. But we had a good time sexually, so I think I'll put it at like a 60% chance we're gonna see each other again. I'm in LA. What do you recommend for a first date? I'm 23 and she's 30 years old. Uh, I'm not familiar with what's open in LA right now, but honestly, straight to the house, wine date is always the best thing. If not, a bar that's close to you, depending on where you live. Like if I knew where you lived, I could probably recommend, more specific bars. Your video's been really helpful. So I'm glad to hear, bro. All right, we're gonna do one or two more questions. So one of the guys from Mastermind Strength Training Coach who looks good and strong as fuck, so has trouble with women just to show that it's a skill. Who are we talking about? Are we talking about Sadiq? Because Sadiq is actually doing pretty well with chicks. You might be thinking of someone else though. But yeah, it just depends on the guy. Yeah, I know guys who are jacked and have a hard time with girls, and guys who are jacked who are crushing it. Yeah, so what do you do after a hookup and she wants to spend the night? It depends how much I like her. If I like her, I'll let her spend the night. If I don't, I'll just politely think of an excuse. I'll say I have work early. All right, guys, we're gonna do one last question and end it off. I'll be a little bit of a cop out if I end off on this, but I just want to get this out. I just want to say thanks for the product. I've already posted numerous reports in the mastermind group, and it's been total success. Still shopping my well. Glad to hear, bro. I'm always glad to hear people having success. Yeah, really good to hear, bro. All right, so I just covered this question. Okay, T-Buzz. Do you tell girls that you have seen more than once that you are seeing other girls? What do you do if they ask me seeing anyone else? No, I have a strict don't ask, don't tell policy. So if they ask me, I'll be honest, but most of the time it's kind of like they know, but they don't really want to know. And what I don't do, what I think this is where some guys fuck up is they're like almost like you don't want to salt a wound, right? So I don't ever try to talk about it. I try to make sure my place is clean, doesn't smell like other chicks. You know, like I don't want to rub it in their face. You know what I mean? So I'm always like very low key about that. I'm not like bragging about other chicks I'm fucking. I never even mention other chicks really, unless it's some chicks from the past. If they ask, I'll usually try to brush it off with a joke. I'll say, no, babe, you know I'm just saving myself for you. I'll just kind of brush it off, and usually they kind of get the hint, and we just don't talk about it. After reading erotica, sexting has become a game changer. How should you get into phone sex? Okay, so yeah, for sure, erotica will help. I don't really do phone sex. I don't see the point in it. Because why not just meet the girl and have sex with her in real life? Sexting, yes, I can. There's advantages to it, but I really don't see the point in phone sex. If you have the time to talk to her on the phone for 30 to 45 minutes and orgasm together, then you have the time to go on a date. I used to have phone sex with my long distance girlfriend when we lived, different states. Well, yeah, it's totally different. How long should you wait when you match or get liked? Do you text her right away or wait? I text her right away. So I don't see this question gets asked commonly, but yeah, I message her right away. So you don't want to wait too long because you got to strike while the iron's hot. All right, guys, we actually more or less I skipped a few questions, but we basically made it through all of them. So I did have to give you guys a false time constraint and be like, oh, last question, I got to go. Aside from that, I think we got through a lot of questions. So thank you guys for joining. Much appreciated. I want you guys also to go to the Instagram and hit the subscribe button and follow the forums. I think with this whole, someone brought up the Brad Justin situation. And while I do think my channel is going to be safe, because I try to avoid any poking the bear too much, although I do like to poke the bear a little bit. I think it's always good to just have a backup. So make sure that you guys subscribe to the channel. That God forbid anything ever happens to the channel, you guys can be whatever. We don't have to start from scratch. So yeah, check us out on Instagram at Real Playing Fire. We also post a lot of value there, like text game of the day, and check out forums at forums.playingfire.com. All right, guys, we got a new video coming out tomorrow. It's how to text girls who you don't have sex with on the first date. So I'm gonna walk you through several text game examples of chicks who I did not hook up with on the first date, how I texted them afterwards to get the second date. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time, good night.